I discovered. How can someone who can't save himself save others? Well, supposing I have the key to your chain, who should say that your lock and my lock should be the same? If you see it, call me. Maybe we can work together to fix it. And just because you don't have the key, don't mean you can't recognize that somebody don't need to be free. Use your voice.
You wanna see a world that's full of destruction? Make a man of poor conduct a rich conductor, and watch what he orchestrate soon as he's in the seat. And who he bands with, he will reveal his own deceit. If that don't strike a chord, I'm afraid nothing will. Obviously getting played, but now let's call him a trumpet. Cause we all know who pulling the strings. We won't accept it or face the music. We rather hear broken records. He toots his own horn and all that jazz.
This is true, he plays up our ear. Next thing he's singing a different tone.
I went and said we can't get on one accord cause we need to be fine-tuned. Would you let me chime in? I'm fit as a fiddle and you fiddle while Rome burns. Cause I try to drum it into your mind but you won't learn.
See, most individuals fear the complex depths within, so they remain superficial on the surface layer of their psyche. So they mindful of their surroundings, but they're not mindful of themselves. The problem with that is, if you don't know yourself, you will settle for anything. Wake up.
The truth is sobering, but you rather wet your whistle and be whistling Dixie, ride the elevator music to dreamland, seeing pixies counting sheep racers first go unaccounted. Bigotry, I can't count it, while this blood sucks as taxes go unaccounted for. And I can't wait till the fat lady sings. They selling tickets, I will be there with bells on, the lot of us. And when they do it, will be music to my ears. I'm so excited, like maybe it's opera. They say the truth is hard to handle. You can see it's all lies if you're willing to take a propaganda. Need you to understand, it's scripted from the start. You think Oprah's your next leader? Look up a whistle in the dark. Blind men, don't let them string you along to a crumbling vile end, to the sound of violence.
A man named Harry Clayton said, if you went in search of it, you would not find the boundaries of your soul. Though you traveled every road, it's so deep, it cannot be measured. But we define ourselves by black, Christian. But how can you not, if the world see you as that?
I'm not black, I'm Hebrew. My nigga, we knew, collect officer peeks you. It's not appeased with what he sees. He blacks, he bruise you when you laying there see-through. That's when it hits you.
That you seen across the news.
They haven't called you black and they do not see you as a Jew, except they do. That's the irony in my pen. There's no denying me if I have to spiral him in the gym. This gym I wield like a sensei with a switchblade. I'm MJ, try to show you the world's a big stage. You LeVar Burton, you enslaved, meaning you gotta play the part if you expecting to get paid, right? Hamlet did say to be or not to be. I hear Toby or not Toby, and I've took as much as I can take. Get it? Toby Kente, Kunta no Timon and Pumbaa, Hakuna Matata's not my alma mater. It is to move farther, all our sons and daughters. They the truth, that's why I speak till it seep through their medulla oblongata. They saying I'm a problem. Why? It's cause I elevate the mind of the robots. Knock 'em, sock 'em.
What's up, family? How y'all doing? Another edition of the Truth Factory. We're going to get this thing going. Actually, we had some technical difficulties. We're going to bring Kevin on here in a minute. Just want to say hi to everybody on YouTube. Actually, we're going to get the Facebook up here in a minute. So I just want to say hi to a few people before we bring Kevin on. Just to give some time for some people to get in here. Okay. Again, this is Ricky Swink begging for change. This is the Truth Factory, and we're gonna bring our guy Kevin Wesley in here in a minute. Okay. All right. So let's see. We got some people on Facebook coming in already. Nathaniel, Queen, Classic, Okay, Derek, Riri, hello, Nemo. All right, so we had some technical difficulties, so we're gonna see if we can get it up on Facebook here in a second. Okay, so just bear with us here. The track that you heard coming in, that's off the Rapture album. Okay, if you haven't picked up that album or downloaded it from bdevolution.org, please go download the album. It's $9.99. It is available right now, and it is smoking. Okay, so that was one of the tracks from the Rapture album. Okay, so we're gonna give some more time for some people to come in here. We got Jamal. Hello. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna give me a moment. Let me see if Kevin ready to come in here.
I see. Let's get everybody on Facebook real quick. I don't know if Ricky can hear me. Ricky, can you hear me, man? I'm calling you over the phone.
Let me get that.
You do hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, bro.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. I'm just trying to get everything set up on live right quick. You know what I mean? Hey, y'all, Ricky don't know him at his house. Peace, Lee Sean. Peace. What's up, family? What's up? Hope everybody's good. We about to get this thing crunk right. Y'all about to be happy, man. We got a little surprise for y'all, man. For people on Facebook, they gonna mess around and find out first. Look. Oh!
Born winners, born winners, baby. We got Begging for Change and the God like together. You know what I'm saying? The demigod, the God and the demigod. I done already spoiled it, man, on YouTube. I can't keep a secret, man. You know what I'm saying?
What's up, family? All right, so peace out. I said peace out like I'm leaving. Look, guys, now we got two cameras. You can be on Facebook or YouTube today. I got the Facebook, but I can see on YouTube. For some reason, when we logged on, it didn't log us straight on to YouTube and Facebook. So we have to work it with YouTube and Facebook on different cameras. But either way, we're here. We won't let nothing stop us. All right, family? See, make it so I can see Ricky and both of them, too. Peace. Greetings, Melissa. Good evening, Ricky. Okay, that's you. All right,
who's saying hello? Calvin, what's going on, bro?
Hello, Sandra. Welcome in. What's up, Why People Why? Shalel. Shalai. Sorry about that. Charles, what's going on with y'all? My first time back on camera, sitting down in a cozy area. I am good. I'm in Arizona, family, so I'm out here doing a little bit of filming. I can't say what it is. Had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You can't show them. You know, I don't want to get sued. But it will. The show will be coming out next year. It's a reality show, so that's about as much as I can say. While I'm in the area, though,
you know, AZ, that's my territory, man. We out here in Phoenix. Listen, man, wherever you are, if you're in California, New York, move to Phoenix. We need more people out here, good people. If you stay where you at, if you're not ready to evolve, stay where you are, okay? Evolve somewhere else. But if you're ready to evolve towards positive things, please move to Phoenix, Arizona. Great weather. It's like 60 degrees right now in January. No snow. Come on, man.
Quit tripping. So listen, while I was out here, man, I was like, hey, Rick, what do you say we do the show together? Rick, like, but what you talking about? We always do the show together. No. Together. What you mean? Like, together? Like, yeah, bro. I'm going to do the show sitting right beside you. Well, how you going to do that? I'm going to be right beside you. Just giving him a hard time, but here we are nevertheless, man. So we decided a couple days ago to surprise y'all with this. He's always had my back, obviously, the last few months. And so I wanted to be able to come by and do this live right on camera, face to face with y'all. You know what I mean? So y'all can't say Kevin stuck up. And it's a pleasure, too. As soon as he walked through the door, he about 5 or 6 inches taller than I thought he was. This dude is 6'2", y'all. Did y'all know that?
Yeah. I wish I was a little bit taller, though, like Kevin said a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? But it's all right, though.
Well, so I have a right to say that. I'm 6 foot. He got me by 2 inches. I always thought he was shorter, but he thought I was shorter, too. So that's why you got to meet up, man. You never know.
Yep. No, he a real dude, though, man. Like, Kevin hasn't let the celebrity go to his head just yet. You know what I mean? So... but the brother is about to blow up here, man. We need people who think like him in the world. People who think like myself. Of course, I'm just whatever I can do. That's what's gonna be done. Okay, so but yeah, Kevin, he's a genuine guy, man. So of course, I'm gonna rock with him until the wheels fall off. So
absolutely. And I want to read this too because that was powerful to me. He said, Kevin, thanks for waking up our people. Absolutely, man. I'm honored. Anytime I get that type of appreciation, I'm overwhelmingly honored because I know how I felt about the person that gave me the information. I would have given anything to him. Man, I was eternally grateful. Still am. And I know many of you guys feel that same way for the people who actually gave y'all the information that snapped y'all out of it, regardless of how much it hurts. Y'all look back at that person and be like, man, I'm so glad that I was right there where you were at that time, or even caught the video or whatever, because it challenged you to be able to look further in your life. And now you see the benefits of it, so you guys are appreciative. Here's what I want to do. I want to thank you for listening, because I know it's not easy to hear. Believe me, in this case, I honestly think I got to the point to where it was easier to say than it was easier for you guys to hear. Once you've accepted a reality, it is very hard for that reality to be shattered. And how can your reality be shattered without you accepting the new reality, right? Or the new reality that is in front of you. Understanding your own reality is a lie. You know what I mean? So you definitely have to appreciate that, because I know that there was a time when I heard information like this and I disregarded it, and then 4 years later is when I actually came back to that same information, and all of a sudden it began to make sense. So I like to say it wasn't my time at the time, or my brain wasn't prepared to be able to grow like that at that time. So I overlooked it. As soon as I saw people questioning the existence of Jesus, I couldn't handle it, and I just jumped out. But by the time I came back to it, I was regretting ever missing that time. So I know how you guys feel. See, said I was never in it, Kevin. I remember my mother absolutely whipping you in church because, okay, I got you. And a lot of people weren't. They didn't subscribe quite like other people subscribe. I was all the way in though. Now I wasn't speaking in tongues, fall out in the church all the way in. You know what I mean? I had a different perspective of that. I always felt like if God gonna do that, then it's just gonna happen. And I hate to be looking so far down into this camera when we got another camera in front of us. So
Yeah.
YouTube.
Let me see what we got going on over here.
Yeah, let's do it real time. That way
Yep.
we can do it.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah. So let's see here. Can we make the chat?
Man, I look better on your camera, bro. Like this camera right here got me looking kind of crazy. Now I'm just playing, man.
It's the iPhone camera,
Yeah, man, this camera right here. Hey, Facebook, man, listen, man, I'm looking good on Facebook. Like this camera right here, like I'm just playing, man.
And can we make this chat right here bigger too?
Yeah. Let me bring it over. Man, I'm sorry, man. We need some tech people up in here, man. When Kevin start getting rich, man, we could hire some tech people, man. Right now we just got bootleg Rick on the technical, so it's gonna be some problems.
Listen, we're not messing around, guys. Hang on 1 second, fam.
Yeah. It's gonna be some problems, bro. You got me doing the tech. The technical aspect of this thing, bro. It's gonna be some hiccups. Okay. All right, let me pop out the chat real quick. All right, so we don't have to worry too much about the Facebook chat because we got the chat right here. Yeah. You can just it's a port right over here on this side over here. Yeah.
Family, we about to get into it, so just be a little patient. If there is a God in the sky with a plan, then you are in the Truman Show. What do you mean by that, Kevin? So if you guys have saw the Truman Show, let me know. All right.
But share the video. If you're on YouTube, like the video, share the video, share it to your group, share it to your page, because we about to get into it.
Absolutely. Let me just get these cameras adjusted so we can be ready to get down. We ready.
Go.
All right, let's see, get these comments back to where they're supposed to be. All right. So I may have to lean forward a little bit to see the Facebook, but I can see YouTube.
Right.
All right, so let's see here. This is La Flair TV. Kevin, does spirituality have a place within the African community? Apparently it does. We have a whole thing called African spirituality. But that word spirituality is just another word that we use to describe something that is really ambiguous. That word spirit, what does that mean? Air, breath, prana, right? So actually spirituality is about breath. It's not about spooky like spirits in the sky, or even what we think is spirits. Because when we think the word spirit, we think ghost or some entity that exists and has a consciousness, right? Spirit. But the word spirit actually comes from the word breath and its original meaning. So we still use the word spirituality, not understanding its true or original meaning. And we actually believe in it to be something else because of our paradigm. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. That was a really good question. Does it have its place? That would mean spirituality would have its place in any form, because it's really just breath, right? Your spirit. So, and be honest with you, meditation, all these things were really based on your breathing. Even runners will tell you today that to be able to, finish some of these competitions, these long runs, that breathing is exceptional. I mean, very important. Same thing with women who are having a baby. How you breathing, it can be the difference on whether you're going to be strong or actually weak. A lot of power lifters will tell you that focus on your breathing. Boxers would say you have to consistently be breathing. Short, shallow breaths or whatever the state. Yeah, absolutely. And you can hear this even when they train. They train themselves to be able to do that. So really being in control of your breath is almost a ritual. You know what I mean? Because if you actually can control your breath, you can maintain more strength, do more things of that nature. So spirituality to me, when people meditate and they do their arms, all this is about breathing. You understand? So that's where it comes from. But we want it to mean, I guess more so something's outside of you, or I connect. It means I connect with something, but that's actually not what spirituality actually meant, family. So, let me know if it's low for every one of you guys, because everyone so far you guys seem to be liking the volume, but Sun God said that it's low. So let us know, family. We're gonna move the speaker a little bit to us right now. Absolutely, Jude-Eric said it's about energy. Absolutely. And think about it. A fish is in water, so it actually has the ability to drink water with water being right in front of them, right? Our source, the only source of energy that we have access to that's that linear to what fish are, to water, would be air. We have it right in front of us. We breathe it, and it gives us energy every single breath that we take. So that is your spirit. If you think about it, what can you live the least longest without? Air. You can remove water from your system, you can remove food, and you can still survive weeks, even months. But you can't survive, some of y'all can't survive 30 seconds without it. Honestly, because when you don't train your body, you don't have a lot of breath, right? But swimmers will tell you, man, when you train your body, you can actually be able to hold your breath longer. So you can actually train your body to go for longer period of times without oxygen. But even in your best state, the longest person in the world that's really good at it can only hold their breath for three hours? I mean, not 3 hours, but like 3 minutes maybe. So it's safe to say that you need that energy as far as air more than anything else. Without that consistently coming in and going out, what are you? But a dead body, a dead vessel. So it could be air, the very thing that's keeping you. Prana, that's what they call it. Prana itself is life itself. Yeah.
That's why, like, when someone said energy, like, you can look at it like even at a sporting event. Like, when they get everybody charged up, that's energy. Like, that could be spirit, because they, like, you got team spirit, you got that's just energy. That's just like a certain positive attitude,
Right.
so towards motivation. And like when you playing sports, you get the breath knocked out of you, you get the wind knocked out of you. You can't do nothing. Like, you feel like that boy got his spirit knocked out, he got his air knocked out of him. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing, it's the same premise.
Absolutely. And that feeling when you get your air knocked out, you have no power to do anything. It's not like a slap in the face or even a punch in the face. You get hit in your stomach and all that air comes out of you, you shutting down. You can't even talk. It'll just fall over.
Yep.
I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've seen boxers take that hit to the stomach and they don't even want to come back anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now, to us, the exciting part is seeing them get hit in the face and, a knockout. Yeah. But when that hit get to the stomach, you're not that boxer who felt that. It's a whole different feeling. Yeah.
And if you even trained as a boxer, you would know that your cardio is, like, important. Like, I seen dudes come in the gym, they all big, they get in that ring for 30 seconds, they can't even throw a punch anymore.
Absolutely.
Because their breath and their cardio is not on point.
Absolutely. And right here, Roger said something that's very good to the point. He says you need air and spirit to control the brain. So it's crazy because, like, whenever you are suffocating, they'll tell you if you lose so much time, then the brain will die because of lack of oxygen, right? So, wow, air is very, very needed. Yeah. And, without, like she said, you can't take it in without passing out. Somebody can choke you off and you're passed out. As far as food, someone would have to starve you completely out. But this is the one source of energy we need consistently all the time. So this is why it's referred to as spirit. Not necessarily saying it's the most important, but really, yeah, it's the prerequisite to life. You can't live without breath. I mean, I don't know any animal or any being that doesn't breathe. You know what I mean? Right. So absolutely. And even if it's not oxygen, it's still carbon dioxide, and that element is just as available in the world as air is. So a lot of times we can be so grateful for oxygen and not for carbon dioxide because our perspective isn't that we inhale carbon dioxide. So we wouldn't be thankful for something that we don't think we need. But let's be honest. We have to be thankful for carbon dioxide because if we didn't produce it for the other half of our breathing apparatus, which is the plants, they wouldn't be able to give us back oxygen. See how these things work hand in hand? And this is why breath is spirit, because every animal being connects by this. We're trading with the plants carbon dioxide for oxygen. You see how that works? If we didn't give out the carbon dioxide, we wouldn't in turn get the oxygen. It's like perfect balance.
No, Leishan, the YouTube is on. It's on Kevin's channel. It's on the Truth Factory, bro. I'm just answering Leishan's question. He's asking if the YouTube was on my channel. It's actually not. My channel is begging for change. Facebook people, subscribe. Begging for change. We got like 280 subscribers right now. I'm just
for real, y'all.
No, but I'm putting up good videos. Like some of them are funny, and I mean it's just to get us to think that none of this stuff is serious. I was reading the Bible the other day. I read one chapter, and in that same chapter, God helped His people kill some people. Then later on in the chapter, they complained about something, and He killed them. So I'm just like, I ain't got out of one chapter yet. God killing people and killing His own people. So I'm just saying, like I make videos that are funny, but just go back to what Kevin was saying about the breath. Even at the start of life, when you're a newborn baby. You take that when you come out. You take that first breath. You know what I mean. So it's spirit. It's the beginning of life. You know.
Absolutely. And guys, we're gonna get into it. So again, because of the realities that we're presented, it shapes the way we see the world. So again, if we're used to looking at the world not introspective, you would only be thankful for oxygen and not carbon dioxide. And as the brother said earlier, we need all these things to survive off of, right? One is just as needed as the other because without plants, who are you? Phytoplankton provides most of the oxygen for our world today, and that's at the bottom of the seafloor. You understand? So we need every single ounce of every being's contribution for our life. This is how you know that we're all somehow connected, even if it's by the elements that we need to survive. You know, I hear all the time we talk about how we're disconnected, of course, either higher than animals or higher than each other race-wise. But when you think about it, we live on the same plane and we all need the same things pretty much to survive. You know what I mean? So I think it makes you should really look back at it and say, if we all surviving off the same source, then how can we compare ourselves as if we're better or lower than another person if we're surviving off the same source? You understand what I'm saying? But either which way, why do we see the world the way we see it? Why are we happy with the idea of a God in the sky or a being in the sky with a plan? Why does this make us feel comfortable, right? So this is the main question first of all. So the title of the show is, if there is a God in the sky with a plan, then we are in the Truman Show. So let's just circle back to this. I asked you guys to tell me if you saw the Truman Show. Let me know if you saw the Truman Show, and then beside it, great, good, or bad, how you thought of the movie. Okay, so just type Truman Show. Just type yes, I saw it, and then great if it was a great movie, good if it was a good movie, and bad, of course, if it was bad. Let me know what you thought of the movie. It's one of my favorite movies, so I'm not trying to coax y'all into saying it was great, but I see movies differently, not just by scene and character by character. I'm actually always looking in the backgrounds, trying to see what I can find. I look at every little detail. I recognize that, of course, Hollywood comes from the type of wood that was used to create a magic wand. So it's like we're trying to give you magic, and we're going to use this film, right, this presentation or this program to give you this magic back. And that puts so much into these movies as far as esoteric knowledge, astrology, chakra colors, all this type of stuff, numerology. They put these things inside of the show. And while one person is just watching it scene to scene, I see you guys, okay, like the Truman Show was great. It was scary. It could be. You're right. Absolutely. And we're going to get into that too. Let's see here. Yolanda said, I need to see it. Oh my gosh, trust me. See that movie? It's actually, if you saw the Matrix, Yolanda, then I'm telling you now, the Truman Show is just as good. I mean, it's not The Matrix. It's The Truman Show. They're totally different views. The movies are not even similar, I would say, but the message is clear. It's the same message. So if you like The Matrix, you will like The Truman Show. Trust me. It's bombs, I promise you. It makes you look at the world differently, okay? And as I talk about The Truman Show, there's going to be some spoilers, just so you know, but it'll just make you happier to see it. And if you're mad because I'm spoiling this show, then that's on you. This movie is like 18 years old. That's on you, okay? I'm not spoiling a movie that's in the movies right now, so I don't want to hear it. All right, so let's do this. All right, so let's see. I'm going to read some of the, let's see, its volume was lost. Still not seeing the new comments come up on YouTube. Hang on, let us check YouTube. Will you check it?
Oh,
here?
yeah.
Okay, here they come. Down. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. So I'd watch it again, and everyone should see The Matrix. Shannon said everyone should see The Matrix. Okay.
Yeah.
Saw The Truman Show. Was interesting.
Yeah, you got to see it.
Yeah, now they all showing up. I seen it, loved it. It was genius. Yeah, good. Okay. Okay, there they go. Got you. I'm just reading the YouTube side. It looks like everybody over on YouTube side. Let me give y'all some shout outs to see. Jamal said, yes, it was good. Victoria said, yes, I saw it. It was great. Nikki said, I saw it. It was great. I am set. It's like spiritual slavery. Let's see. Yes, great, says Brittany Broussard. Shannon Crockett says it's good. Let's see here. Nemo says, Truman Show, ? So go watch it, Nemo. Trust me. Trust me.
Deanna said she's going to watch it tonight.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Trust me, guys. So let's just build. What is a Truman Show? I'll send you an image if you don't mind. Let's throw it up on the screen.
Right.
So while Ricky's doing that, I'm gonna explain to you guys a little bit about what the Truman Show is. Okay. So Truman is one of 5 children. Now it's funny because it's 5, right? He's one of 5 children. We're gonna come back to that, right? Because remember, Goliath was killed, but David had to pick up 5 smooth stones. Remember that? So we're going to talk about why 5, right? Why the number 5? What does it mean? But he's one of 5 children. And he's the only one who's going to be born in time to launch this show. So whichever child is born in time to launch the show is going to get adopted by this ridiculously wealthy man. And this wealthy man is going to have this child be born on national TV. And from that moment, the cameras will never come off of this child. Now, this child, from the moment he's born, is going to be an absolute star. Right, that's the perfect image. That first one.
You want this one right here?
No, the one before it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get all.
Oh, you just downloaded. My bad.
Yeah, because you wanna talk about all of them, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, while you talking about that, I'll go ahead and put this one in there real quick.
Okay, perfect. So from the moment he's born, the cameras never come off of him. Right. So he's a star before he can even speak. Now, he doesn't know it. So understand that this whole city, this whole world that Truman lives in, is fake. It's hidden cameras everywhere. Every single time the cameras are on him, they're basically trying their best to do product production. It's the largest show in the history of man. It's been running for his whole life. When this movie starts off, Truman's already an adult, probably in his 30s. And this show has been running every day, every hour, every minute, consistently. The cameras even watch this man sleep, guys, and he has no clue. Truman believes that his wife is really his wife. He believes his best friends are really his friends. He thinks his job is real. He thinks everything about his life is real, but it in fact is not. Now I want you guys to imagine what this means for you. What do you mean by that, Kevin? If there is a God with a plan in the sky, then your life is a Truman Show. Truman's life was controlled by a movie owner, a director, who was in charge of putting the female that he wanted in Truman's life. In fact, when Truman met the woman that he really fell for, the guy removed her from his life and made another girl flirt with him to try to take his mind off her. He ends up marrying that girl. Now, these things happen in our lives all the time. Things don't go according to plan. And what do we say? Well, it wasn't in whose plan? God's plan. So because it wasn't in God's plan, it cannot happen. So when something doesn't happen for us, we say, well, it must have not been in God's plan, because if it was, it would happen. And nothing that's not in his plan won't happen, right? Because God is all powerful. He has a plan, right? So now, if there's a director in the sky that's absolutely planning your life step by step, and there's a God in the sky, because this director lives inside the moon. There's a fake moon that he lives inside of, that he looks right down on the earth, and he can see Truman firsthand and see every little camera that Truman's in. And he watches every little step Truman makes, governing every single step Truman makes, so his show will keep a certain amount of ratings, right? So nothing in Truman's life happens by accident. This is your life if there's a God in the sky, right? You understand this? So I want you guys to see this, the whole scenario of this movie played out. Of course, so right at the beginning of this movie, I saw it years ago when it first came out, and it was already a great movie. But at the time, I didn't understand any type of esoteric symbolism or any numerology, anything. I just watched it as what it was, a movie, right? And it was a very good movie. But as I went back and watched it, oh my goodness, right? So I'm going to show you guys just some little clips that I just took a snapshot of, and because obviously I can't show the movie. I would love to. As a matter of fact, guys, keep in mind that. A matter of fact, guys, as we're getting this ready, for any of you guys that were looking to travel with Be Evolution Group and possibly even be a representative, that got extended until the 25th. So the $100 was supposed to cut off by the 5th, but they extended it. So get with Claudia, Vicky, of course, join Kevin Wesley Group because they extended it up. So you still got time to get in for that $100 fee, okay, guys? But I was just going to say, long story short, whenever we go out on these trips, we will rent venues and we'll watch movies together. And I'm going to be breaking movies down for us because we can watch them in person together. And, and I'll pause them and talk about them, and we'll definitely be enlightened off of some of these movies and the things that you can learn in them. But I can't show you the actual movie here, so we're just going to take pictures, right? They Live. Now, I haven't seen They Live, Adam. Now, you're going to make me want to look into that, bro. Said They Live. I'm going to have to look into that. So here's the first image here. If you can see it, on that
on Facebook though.
Huh? Right. So yeah, you won't be able to see it on Facebook. If you want to go to YouTube, you guys will be able to see the images, okay? And while you're over there, subscribe and hit the bell so you can get notified whenever we upload new videos. So here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys a moment, if you want, to go ahead and join YouTube, if you can see so you can see the videos and all other pictures and all, so you can get the complete experience, guys. Now, of course, Rick. I don't know why Rick is not in the camera.
No. I just
leaned over a little
Yeah,
bit. Okay.
yeah. I'm good, man.
Rick feels like the camera on Facebook is better.
Listen,
you guys will get the.
Man, they want to see you, bro. They been looking at my face, bro, for a couple months, man. It's all about you, brother. It's all about you.
Man, it's all good, man. So I'm just giving y'all a minute to go over to YouTube. If y'all want to watch it on YouTube. Yes, The Truth Factory on YouTube, guys. Thank you, LeSean. You the man, brother.
Yeah.
The Truth Factory, guys.
Crystal.
You type in Kevin Wesley and you'll see any one of my videos pop up. Just click it and go from there. I see the numbers starting to drop a little bit. So, yeah, definitely go from Facebook to YouTube so you can see the images if you want to. Right. Many of you guys have saw the Truman Show, so you know what I'm talking about. I will describe it in detail so you can see. And if not, you guys can go back and look at it if you don't have YouTube, all right?
YouTube is the Truth Factory. If you do a search on YouTube, you might put Kevin Wesley in there with it. Put the Truth, because there is another Truth Factory page channel. So you want to include Kevin Wesley in your search, and then his page will actually pop up, because there's another Truth Factory that's not Kevin's channel. Okay, so you just want to do that.
All right, cool. And I was gonna say,
do you want to change it?
What's that?
You want to change the image?
No. Keep that up. Keep that up. I'm gonna definitely go into that image right there.
Oh, you trying to see the YouTube?
No, it was a comment I was gonna respond to. Good. Keep It Moving said, you gonna go watch it with your wife now? Okay, well, you could have watched it live first, but it's cool. I ain't gonna be hurt. I ain't like, I ain't even gonna trip. Whatever.
No, don't go watch the Truman Show like right now. Like wait until you know what I'm saying. Like fall asleep on it later when you about to go to bed. You know
I done hyped the show up so much I lost a listener. If the Truman Show's okay, it ain't all that. Okay, no, let's not get too overboard now. Thank you very much, Vanessa. Actions speak louder than words. Okay, thank you, Gina. Says she switched from Facebook to YouTube. Great. Thank you very much, Shannon. Actions speak louder than words. I appreciate that. We need your support. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of you guys. So Andre, for you guys who don't know, Josh had to go back to work. He was actually in between jobs at the time. And this job demands a lot of his time. So he was like, Kevin, I got to go back. And what's a man to do? I have to understand that. So we definitely miss him and thank him for all of his time. So absolutely. And here's another one here. Himnitsu, if I'm saying that right. Thank you very much, Candace, for the donation. Actions speak louder than words. All right, so I gave you guys, I believe, enough time to get over to YouTube. So let's get into it. This image that we're looking at is A satellite that falls from the sky after Truman leaves his house. Well, what's Truman's house number? Truman's house number is 36, okay? So when you come out of that house and you see 36, 3 and 6 make 18. 1 and 8 is 9, but hey, 3 and 6 also make 9, right? Now, Jamal, when he does his show, what does he do? He say, throw your 9s up, right? If I'm doing it right. But why are you throwing your 9s up? What is the symbology of 9, right? And for many of you guys who already know that, you already probably have your brain firing off right now, like, wow, right? 9 represents initiation, right? It represents becoming enlightened, right? Thank you very much, Rich. Actions speak louder than words, brother. So we understand what 9 means, right? And so actually 9 is the highest spiritual number as well. If you do life path numbers and stuff like that, 9 is the highest one. And because it's the highest number, it means it's the most sensitive, meaning it feels the pain or feels, it's more self-aware. So sensitive is not sensitive as in you cry easily. It's sensitive as in knowing your fingertips, and because you have nerves in your fingertips, they can sense better, right? Or touch and feel cold and hot, pain, sensations, all that. So a 9 is very, very sensitive, like they have a high antenna, right? So that's what the number 9 means. So Truman comes out of the house number 63 or 36. At this moment, of course, he's not enlightened, but of course they're foreshadowing. That's why his house number is 36. So if you guys can guess, Neo is an anagram for 1, right? O-N-E. And N-E-O, right? And I love it because if you was to say Neo backwards, it's O-N, which is O-N, like on, as in a light, right? I got a song where I say it's going to be on if you don't pay what you owe in, but that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to slide in some bars. It's on if you don't pay what you owe in. Oh, my God. I just wanted to slide that in, family. But Neo backwards is Owen, right? But either which way, 1, an anagram for 1. The room that Neo's in is 111. Ironically, why? Why would the Matrix put Neo's room number 111? Well, Trinity in the Matrix, her room number is 333 because Trinity is 333, right? And so these movies are not doing this stuff by accident. Please understand that it's a stage. Everything is set up, from the room numbers to the pictures on the wall to the cups that they're drinking out of. Every single thing is staged, okay? And it's purposefully put there. Please don't think it's that it's an accident that some of these things are happening in these movies. Even the colors of the doors, they didn't just rent a place and do that. They made the color of the door red. The cars, the color of the cars, the outfits that they wear, the names of the people in the movies. Every single thing about these people you have to look into, guys. Like I told you guys last week, why Bruce had his name, Bruce Banner for Incredible Hulk. His name is Bruce, meaning bruise, right? If you say bruise really quick, you're saying Bruce, right? Because he's a bruiser. He's really, really strong. You feel me? So understand that these names mean something. So he comes out of the house. If I can make a long story short, if that's still possible to do, his house number is 36, right? So as I said, 3 and 6 is 9. 3 times 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. You're always going down to the 1 number, not 2 numbers in numerology. You always reduce it to the 1 number, right? So either which way, he's already coming out of house number 36. And little do you know it, a satellite falls out of the sky and hits the ground. He picks it up and he looks at it. On it says Sirius 9 Canis Major. Now, I just want to test the room. When you hear this term, Sirius 9 Canis Major, what does that mean for you guys in the room before I carry on? Because I want people to see that I'm not making this stuff up. I know I got somebody in the room that studies this or sees on that plane, that is tapped into that dimension, if I could say.
Isn't that the dog star, bro?
That is, absolutely. See, Ricky already ahead of the game. Sirius 9 Canis Major. What's the first thing comes to your mind, guys, if you guys are into that, if you guys know what I'm talking about? George said it's all symbolism. Yeah, there's tons of symbolism in corporations and films. Absolutely. Absolutely. Smokey said, I don't know. Hey, listen, I appreciate that. To me, that's the wisest words you can ever utter is, I don't know. For some people, that's hard to say, man. We like to pretend we know a little bit of everything. So let's see here. Sirius star. Absolutely. The Sirius star, the dog star, Cher said. Okay, cool. So we getting into it. I ain't going to hold the people up that's curious. So, of course, Sirius 9 Canis Major. Sirius is a sun. It's called the dog star. That is its nickname, the dog star. Okay, it's been called the dog star forever now, right? You're right, Jamie. It's called the Dog Star. Now, what does Canis Major mean? Canis Major is the constellation in which Sirius sits. Now, they put on this satellite Sirius 9 Canis Major. It has nothing at all to do with this movie. In fact, he moves on after this like it never happened. So why did they do that? Because we would have watched this movie normally and moved on and not looked this up. See, the truth is, when I saw this movie, like I said, I didn't notice it. It wasn't until after I had studied all this stuff and I said, I'm going to go back and watch the Truman Show again, just because I haven't seen it in a while. I remember it being a good movie. As soon as it started off, I noticed he lived in house number 36, and that's when it got my attention. And then when this fell out of the sky, Anubis. There you go. That's what I was waiting for. Ivan said Anubis, guys. So if any of you know the dog or the jackal in Egypt, of course, his name is Anubis, and he is the god of embalming, right? So why is he the god of embalming? And I hate to use the term god because this was before 1800 years ago, so it was before the word God was invented, so Anubis wasn't a god. You understand? Anubis was a symbolic figure. But why was Anubis used to be the god of cremation, right? Why? Because jackals would dig up the shallow graves, right, and they would eat out the intestines of the people that was inside the grave, and this would prolong their decay. And once the pharaohs learned this, because of course they had deeper graves and they wanted to be prolonged, they actually started copying what they saw these jackals do. Let's remove the intestines, and this in turn will create a mummified body, will help us in that direction. So they coined it after him. So what we like to do in this world is anything that we learn, we like to say, I want to thank God, and that just becomes your source for coming up with it. They were honest. We want to thank this jackal because it taught us this. This is the same thing with Toph. Toph is represented by a bird that its feet actually appears to be writing when it walks. You understand? And Toph is the god of literature and intellect. So this is why Toph is always writing. They learn to write stuff down by looking at this bird leave its markings on the ground. You understand? So it's called Truman Show. So it's in the title. If there's a God in the sky with a plan, and I think I left off in the sky, but I just like to keep saying it because that's what I wish I would have typed. Now I want to go back and do it right now. But there's a God in the sky with a plan. Then our life, or we are living in the Truman Show, right? So yeah, Anpu or Anubis was the dog that would be waiting for you whenever you died to take you back home, i.e. the dog star, right? My homie Frank Burrell, he says when you say I'm serious, you're saying I'm serious, as in I'm the star. I am the main star, the largest star in the galaxy. And that star, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's like 1,000,000 times or some crazy number larger than our actual sun. So you can see why it's held so prominently in that regard. It's called the Dog Star, and it's in Canis Major. Well, I made a video a while back talking about the simulations and where we could have possibly gotten this idea God from dog. And it sounds funny because God is just dog backwards, right? And we can't just make up stuff like that and say that God is dog because it's spelled backwards and it means dog. But hey, before we had a God, we had a dog. And that dog was taking you to a star called Sirius in Canis Major. Now we have dogs, and we call them Canis lupus. That is their technical name. So what we're calling a dog is actually very similar to the constellation that the dog star sits in. Do you not understand how crazy that is? So am I reaching now? Because a lot of people be like, man, wait a second. It just sounds like you're reaching. But I like to tell them religious literature is called dogma. You understand? Whenever we're mad, we're angry, we use as an epithet the word God, right? In an angry way. We say, God. Do we not use dog the same way? Dog, right? I remember being in church and they would say, I have a friend in God, right? We call God our friend. We call dogs our friend. In fact, a man's best friend is called his dog. Ain't that right, dog?
What's up, dog?
Boom. But then my dog is called a man's best friend. You understand? And we don't really understand how often we use the word dog and how many things that dog means. Jesus washed feet. What on your body do you call your dogs? Feet, right? And Jesus walked on water, right? In fact, if you say my dog's tired, what are you talking about? You're talking about feet, right? And when someone says I'm dogging you, what is this term? Right? So we have all these different terms that we use for the word dog. We don't even think about it. Right? But we all would know what they mean if someone uttered them in a sentence, even though we know what a dog is. So let's not get too overboard when we say, Kevin, you're just reaching and making this stuff up, because we have the same tools for God. When you're saying God, you can be sincere and be really calling on the name of God, or you could be getting your desires fulfilled. and be meaning nothing in towards calling actual God himself when you utter that name. You understand? You could be angry and stub your toe and say the same word and actually mean no attempt to connect with a higher power, but you use it as an epithet now. Why did you accept that too? Why did you accept an epithet along with the name of your Father in heaven? It just proved that you go with the flow, that we all go along with the flow. It's funny because you're going to see a lot of that in this show. The director, before I move to the next clip, the director of this show said, why do you believe that you're able to convince Truman that his world is real and he has no clue that everyone around him is paid actors? How are you able to do this? Check out what he said, y'all. He said, people accept the realities in which they're presented. It's simple as that. I said, dang! It would have took me a whole 3-hour podcast to get that across to y'all. Yeah. People accept the realities they're presented, and it's simple as that. You understand? Logic, absolutely. Yep. And how can we not? So before we even get into this, don't blame yourself for subscribing to the Matrix, because people accept the realities they're presented. How can you not, family? You have no other choice. Doggone. Now look, watch this. The Doggone tribe has more information on the stars than NASA. Look at the name of their tribe. Doggone. Ain't that funny? When we get mad, we say doggone. and dog and own. Yeah. The light own is another word for sun, is it not? Yeah. So doggone is a derivative of Sirius. And they have more information than NASA does on Sirius. And they don't have a telescope. Now that's crazy that they call themselves the Dog Own tribe, because own literally means sun, and dog is referring to the Sirius star. You can't play with this stuff. Yeah. And because they're using different Phoenician, that they're not using the words that we use, different words. We think that they own something different. That's a colonizer's mindset. Because someone doesn't speak your language or practice your rituals that you grew up seeing, you now deem them either bad. You now deem people either wild, or you deem them doing some type of witchcraft or ritual because it's outside of your paradigm. That's a colonizer's mindset. Right? So we have to take a look into these things that we don't rightfully understand or truly understand, just so we can grow to another level. You know what I mean? So let's get this going. Let's see, Ricky, whenever you get a chance, we're going to put another picture up here. So again, everything about his life is being controlled by this man. Oh, I said that, Kevon, that religious dogma is called, of course, religious literature is called Dogma. You know, you said don't forget about the movie Dogma. Okay, absolutely. That's a good movie as well. And guys, don't forget that Jesus, if you look this up, now you don't find this literature in the Bible, but you find this by people who eisegesis, people who go around trying to poetize Jesus into existence, right? They say that Jesus was hung on a dogwood tree, and that's funny. Why out of all the woods would it be a dogwood tree? You understand what I'm saying? And so I have a song I'm working on. I like to insert my bars for y'all.
Plug.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a song I'm working on where I'm actually talking about the symbology between, of course, God in heaven and being compared to a dog. You feel me? So there's a line where I say, if you can hide, you can hear. Women get dogged from the front to the rear. I'm talking about in the literature that we call the Bible. All women do is get frowned upon and dogged, right? And I'm using this term dogged because I mean looked down on, enslaved, right? Because what do we do to dogs? We put a leash on them, right? We put a leash on, and women get dogged. A leash is not put on women in the Bible, metaphorically. You tell her that she is not even able to have protection from being raped unless she's promised herself to a man. What is that if not a leash, right? If you look at a dog and it doesn't have a leash, you would deem that dog wild. It doesn't have an owner because dogs supposed to have. This is what I'm telling you. The psyche of your world is so jacked up when you see another being and think it's supposed to have an owner. You understand? You say, where is the owner of this dog? And then you're ready to call the people to come throw him in a gas chamber because he doesn't have an owner, right? This is how women were treated. The Bible says, if you rape a woman who is engaged to a man, then you should be killed because she is another man's property, because she is owned, because she is promised to be married. However, if she is not promised to be married and you rape her, i.e. a virgin, not promised to be married, then you can just pay for her. Why? Because she's not owned. You're not touching somebody's property. Do you understand what I'm saying? A woman was only considered property. And so a woman's job or a woman's goal would be to promise herself into marriage, i.e. engaged, so she can have protection in the law from being freaking raped. And they got this type of thing, this thinking from so-called God. Please understand this, right? So I said women get dogged from the front to the rear. And I say the word doggy style. We know what that word is going to, right? When you think about the word doggy style and understand its actual meaning from adults, right? Then you know that there is a certain position that doggy style demands for it to be even called doggy style, right? Well, why do we have to bend over to worship? You understand? So I said doggy style, bend over and worship. I'll make it rain bread, bring it here, right? So I said women get dogged from the front to the rear, doggy style, bend over and worship. I'll make it rain bread, bring it here, right? Because when we go to clubs and we look down on women and strippers and stuff like that, right? What do? We make it rain bread, and we want them to dance or worship or do shuck and jive or whatever they need to do. But that's the same idea that this God in the sky does. Dance a jig before I will make it rain bread. And it's funny that when God makes it rain bread from heaven, it's called manna, not womana, right? It has to be manna because it's good, right? So I said it's manna from heaven. When I throw that bread out, it's manna from heaven, right? Then I said I was cast out like I chose sin, like man, I'm from heaven, right? Man, I'm from heaven, right? Now, I ain't gonna go all the way into all the other bars because I'm already boring y'all to death. You know, and y'all ain't even heard this track yet. But on into the song, I get into more of the parallels with God and dog. The Bible's God is said to sleep on the seventh day, right? Why would a God sleep? He's eternal. Why would he need to rest? What would be the point of even writing that there? Why would he rest? Why the seventh day? Why? See, these are things that we need to think about. Thank you, Vanessa. She said that's bars. So why? So why would a God rest? So right? So there are what they call idioms. I-D-I-U-M. An idiom is when you use a turn, a phrase, and it means something else. So if I said, are you dog tired? You know what that means. It means that you're dog tired. You're very, very tired. If I say, man, they working me like a dog, right? I know what these terms mean, right? If I say, I'm going to let sleeping dogs lie, it means I'm going to leave it alone. Yeah, not you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, man, because I said you am. But, so, if I say we're going to let sleeping dogs lie, this is an implication of leaving something alone, right? Let it go. Let sleeping dogs lie means don't bother with it anymore, right? So that's what it means. So in this song, I say, why would a God rest? Was he dog tired from being worked like a dog? Why would we all let sleeping dogs lie when we ain't digging up no bones, right? Because we're all looking through archaeology trying to find the bones of all these characters that live in the Bible, right? And we ain't digging them up. So now y'all want us to stop talking about and stop asking y'all for proof. But why would we let sleeping dogs lie when we ain't digging up no bones? It's bars. Why would a God rest? Was he dog tired from being worked like a dog? Why would we all let sleeping dogs lie when we ain't digging up no bones, right? That's all I'm going to give y'all that. When that come out, go get it. Trust me, it's going to be enlightening. All right, so now on with it, okay? So we know we talk about how, of course, God and dog, but we're going to move on with the rest of the show, okay? This is Truman now with his girlfriend, and this is how much your life is controlled. This is the girl that he sees. You will see her come into the picture in terms of a scene, because you're going to see clips of her throughout, but you will see her come into the picture when Truman's all the way back in high school. He sees this girl from across the park and is instantly wowed by her, begins to flirt with her all the way from across the park. Truman got game. He's not even shy. He stepped to her like Frank Lucas at a party. He was just cool with it, right? And he's flirting with her across the room, and they see this on TV, but that's not who the writers had deemed to be his wife. You understand? To be his future wife. So they cause a distraction. So now another girl walks up and trips and falls on Truman to get his attention, right? And she immediately, of course, she grabs his attention, and they end up moving the girl so he can't even see her anymore, and he's looking to try to find her. But he ends up seeing her again later and asking her out. And she says, if we're going to go, We got to go now, because if we don't go now, it's not going to happen. They told her to stay away from Truman or you're fired off the show. You feel me? So she was trying to keep her distance from Truman because they don't want Truman to know that he's number one being watched, but they don't want anything not going their own personal way. And they don't want this to be his wife. There's another woman. So this is God's plan, right? Or this director's plan. So they actually go out right then at the moment just to have this time, because she told them if we don't go now, we're not going. They run out, they go to all these different places having fun, and all of a sudden another paid actor pulls up on the beach where they're standing right on this picture and says he's her father. And he begins to tell Truman that she has these spells where she's not thinking straight. Now at this moment, Truman has no clue that he's being watched. I want you to think about this. He starts to ask her really what's wrong. And she tries to tell him, but now it's too late because she's being rushed off by this paid actor declaring he's her father, right? So she's telling him, you're being watched. You're being watched. Everybody sees you. Everybody sees you, Truman. It's all for you. And she's picking up the dirt saying, it's fake, Truman. It's all for you. None of this to Truman is making sense because it's coming to him in pieces, right? In fractions. She didn't have enough time to get through to him, right? So Truman eventually writes it off thinking that she's moving to Fiji. But what does Truman do? He likes this girl so much, now he wants to move to Fiji. Right now, these people have done a lot of things to ensure that Truman would never leave this show. When he was a child, they had a man who was being paid to be a man who was an actor being paid to be his father die in front of Truman. Truman wants to be an explorer, but of course, if Truman pursues this dream, he'll end up off this show sooner than later. So as soon as he stands up and says, I want to be an explorer, the lady says to him, well, everything's already been found. There's really no need to be an explorer, right? They try to kill that drive in him, you know. And so they can't kill the drive in him. So what do? They have his actor father to take him out on a fishing trip. And during this fishing trip, they stage a death. And Truman watches his father die. And it traumatizes him to the point to where he doesn't want to cross water. All right, let's go to the next slide. So now they've actually created a problem to traumatize him, just to keep him from doing something. Now just think about in your life the things that traumatize you. Now this God in the sky has a plan, right? So a God in the sky would just traumatize you just to control your life? Just think about it. This is what the director did in the sky. And we like to equate everything to God having a plan. Either things happen or they don't happen due to this being that's conscious that's in the sky literally having a plan. So we not only have proof of his existence, we have proof of his plans. We have proof of his blueprints to even know he has a plan. You understand? It's clear the world is kind of chaotic and just happenstance. It's not like a person in the sky is like designing every single step for your life. You understand? People who really understand true consciousness understands that there's no being in the sky watching you and judging you according to the life that you live, right? And telling you need to get circumcised and stuff, right? We know this. So either which way, the point is this movie is all based around Truman's life. And then you see things like this happening. Product placement. She'll say to Truman, I just bought this, and then she'll go into it, explain it, the Hashitashi 3000, it does this. It'll zoom in on her face and the product. So this is how the guy's making his money off the products, right? The picture's not frozen, guys. Hopefully, the picture on the right of the woman holding the product should be frozen. Okay, it is freezing.
Yeah. It's freezing up?
On Facebook, it's freezing too? Or is it just on Facebook?
Let's see. Nah, the connection is good.
Okay, so it's just Facebook freezing. Okay, family, so I'm going to keep going. Hopefully it's just, what's her name?
Yeah, I didn't see any freeze on Facebook, man. I didn't see any freeze.
Yeah, on Facebook it'll pass. You might have to type it right then. So anyway, it's all over the place. Truman, while he's walking to work, he runs into these twins a couple of times, and they always like pressure him up against the wall. And then you can see the product placement behind him. So they're always selling something on the show. And everyone contributes. Now, to this part, I'm going to pause for a moment. This is product placement. And they make most of their money by people buying the product. So everything's for sale. If it's a necktie, if there's a cardigan like what she's wearing now, this hat, everything that she has on is for sale. And so is every single character on the show. Everything they have on is for sale. The houses they live in, to the cars they drive, to the furniture, to the pictures on the wall. Everything is for sale. And this is how this dude is making his money, right? So, in our matrix, in our false reality that's presented with us, we all actually take part in contributing Two, people sell it to product placement. The same way this show did. We all take place in it. Why do you think that name brands are so large on the front of your clothing? Now think about this, guys. This is for you guys who go and spend overly amounts for certain types of clothing. Why do you think their logos is either small brands that's all over the bag, if it's like Coach or something like that, very recognizable. And of course, we believe that we have to have it due to what? Advertisement. That's the only reason we believe we have to have it. And why else? Seeing people with it on. Because most people want to be most people, right? And that's really the gist of it. When you look down to it and you see like, people who buy their bags and stuff like that, they normally want these bags long before that they ever go into a store. You know what I mean? So it's proven that these people are not buying it just because the bag looks good. I get Louis Vuitton might be a nice looking bag, but it don't look that good that people are going to spend $3,000 for it. It has to be more to it than that, right? It's because when you're wearing that bag, you feel like somebody. And now you're also helping the product placement, contributing to that idea that, hey, I'm somebody because I have this purse. And you're not doing it on purpose. Again, this video is for us to think about how we contribute to the matrix we live in. All right? And also to look at the perspective of, do we really want there to be a man in the sky with a plan? You see what I'm saying? So for some of you guys, it's still saying that it's, right, Jamie said, I'm glad I'm not most people. Some people are still saying that it's freezing. It's not apparently for all of you, so it could be.
It's not us.
Right, Debbie, it's probably just your signal. You might want to get somewhat clear because you're the only one right now from what I can see. Right? So, right, unplug, Smokey. Unplug because right now we are the catalyst to our matrix. We are projecting this matrix onto the world. We go out and contribute to this matrix. Right? And here's the thing. The director, you never see him on the show. He never even goes down into this fake world. He stays up there in his fake moon. Right? Looking at the bottom, looking at the Truman Show, or looking at the world that Truman is now the star of, right? And all of the actors are the people that's doing all of the work. You're an actor. The word person, it comes from the word persona, which means masks, right? Or mask. What did they wear when they were first doing shows? Masks, right? That's what an actor is. He's putting on a mask. Yeah, you see his real face, but he's putting on a different character. That's why he goes by a different name. Different personality. Excuse me, guys. Let me drink some water.
Debbie, it's the Truth Factory. If you search in YouTube, Truth Factory, Kevin Wesley, it should come up for you.
Sinuses. Sinuses, guys. Let's get to the next slide.
Okay.
I'll be right back, guys. Let me get something from my throat.
I'm going to the next slide. Whoever asked that question about Black Jesus, no, we do not believe in a Black Jesus with white hair. Like, that makes no sense, but that's what the book says. If Jesus is black, that's a problem. If he's white, it's a problem. So it's a problem either way. So, I mean, if Jesus is black, he's letting his people get brutalized, terrorized. He ain't stopping nothing. So that's a problem. If he's white, that's a problem. So it's a problem either way.
That's right. We have to go out of caring what color these gods were. It is not relevant. What is relevant is, do they exist? Doesn't matter what color they were. Do they exist? Let's start there. Even if the Bible was perfect and Jesus did everything right, none of that would still be relevant, guys. What's relevant is it true? All right, so you got the scene right here. Truman is out at the beach, right? Truman's at the beach, and he's sitting there in the sand, and he's actually daydreaming about this girl that was stolen from him. And then it begins to rain, and it only rains on Truman, right? Because I guess the rain machine is broken, so it's only raining on Truman. Now he sits there, he looks around like, what the heck is happening? And he stands up. He steps over to the right. He gets ready to walk to his car, run to his car. And he realizes he ran completely out of the rain. Right? Now, it's funny to me because he gets out of the rain and the rain follows him. Rains on him again. He jumps out of the rain again. He goes back right. The rain comes back again. And then he starts to say, yeah, woo, like he starts to say, like, I'm God, I'm powerful because the rain is following him. And then, of course, the machines correct themselves and the rain is everywhere. And something like that still didn't make him think about this world he was living in, even though something like that should have made him say something ain't right. Now, that satellite fell down out of the sky. Now, when he drives down the road right after that satellite fell out of the sky, the radio station, because of course they knew what was going on, the radio station and everything is fake. They started explaining why this satellite fell out of the sky. They said it was a plane that flew by, but that's clearly like a light, not a satellite. It's clearly like a light that fell off the ceiling of some sort. But Truman can't see that. You understand? All he sees is that he's in a real world, but everything is an illusion. So Truman now is thinking about this girl that he misses. He tries to call all around looking for her. But of course, when he calls out, who's going to be answering? The people that is all gimmicking him. There is nowhere in Truman's world that he can go to get the truth. Everyone is contributing to this matrix. You understand? And everyone is benefiting from contributing to this matrix. This is our world today. You understand? There are so many people that's benefiting from this matrix that they want to keep you in it too. You understand? So Truman wants to get out of this matrix. He knows something isn't right, but he can't put his finger on it. Like Morpheus said to Neo, you know something isn't right, but the matrix is all around you, right? You can see it, touch, you can see it. I mean, you can't see it, but you can taste it, smell it. It is all around you. You know it is there. You know something isn't right, right? You know it isn't. And this was Truman. Although he loved his wife and his best friend was truly his best friend to Truman, to his best friend, he was just an actor doing his job. But Truman was genuinely real with everyone in his life, right? And so when he went to these people, they treated him in a way that would keep him bound up to being on the show. They didn't want him to leave. And this is the people in your matrix. They don't want you to move forward only because their version of you moving forward is losing you, right? Because they're losing you to a non-belief. You understand? So when someone is in the matrix of a religion and you leave out, they're going to try to keep you into the matrix just as much as all these people were trying to keep Truman in his matrix. And a lot of them feel like it's for your own good. See, Truman, when he left this fake world, the world that he went into, would it be any more real? Because when Truman broke out of that fake world, he would now be in the world that we have it, that we live in. Is our world any more real than his? Is our world controlled by an elite? Is our presidents real? Right? Is our world as we see it, our paradigm as we see it, truly a reality? Or is it staged? See, Truman, when he would try to leave the show, they would make things happen. Let's go to the next slide. When Truman would try to leave the show, not knowing he was on the show, but when he would try to leave this island or wherever he supposedly is, or whatever, these type of things would happen. And you'll see it when the slide come up. But everywhere that he would go, there would always be something that would make him afraid. Of course, now he's afraid to travel on water. He goes to a bus station, and the bus doesn't work now because the guy who's driving the bus, right, is the guy who's driving the bus can't get the bus to work because obviously they don't want Truman to get out. So every avenue that Truman takes, he can't make it. So eventually he goes to a travel guide, right? And look at what it says. This could happen to you. Look at the background. They're playing him now. They're trying to make him afraid to leave, right? So like now the other places when he went into them, it would say like Sea Haven is the best place on earth. Why would you want to leave, right? So all his news stations are telling him how great the place he lives is and how nobody wants to leave, right? To make him to the point to where, well, why would I want to go anywhere else? I'm already good, you see? And so now this last place, when they see he's truly determined, this is what they put on the wall. And he still sits down and try to book this flight. He's trying to book it to Fiji, and he has his bag in his hand. He wants to leave now because Truman knows in his heart, if I don't leave, I ain't going to get out of here because he knows something is wrong, but he can't put his finger on it. He's looking at pictures of his wife, and he noticed her fingers are crossed in the wedding photos. So now he's starting to realize this woman don't really love me. You feel me? He followed her to work. She's supposed to be a surgeon. He follows her to work and gets all the way back into the surgery room and notices that she can't do surgery. All these doctors are standing over a person who's supposedly unconscious, acting like they're about to make an incision. They don't know what to do because Truman's watching. And so they have to still try to make an incision. And when they do it, the dude who's supposed to be asleep or the lady who's supposed to be asleep wakes up like, oh, crap, you really cut me? And it's funny because the doctor who cut him, his hands is all like nasty looking like. He's like, oh, I'll just let somebody else finish up here. Because like he's not even real. Trust me, man. So at this point, Truman actually can tell that his world is fake. But again, like I said, he sees this on the wall and he gets nervous. But he says, I want to leave for Fiji now. And she tells him there's nothing for Fiji the next 3 months. And he's like, crap. Right? So he gets up and leaves. Let's go to the next slide. Now, all this happens so many times. They ask the man, why are you trying to keep Truman on the show? And he says that. It says, why are you trying to keep Truman on the show, or why won't you let him leave? He said, if he truly wanted to leave, there is nothing that can keep him here. If he truly wanted out, there's nothing that can keep him here. But when Truman wanted out, they would set up traffic jams. They would even burn the road to make it appear like a forest fire to keep him from driving through the forest or through the street, the road that goes through the forest. Once it got that far, they even put up a big roadblock and acted like it was a quarantine and had other actors dressed up in big uniforms, like big old hazmat type uniforms, silver hazmat type uniforms, acting as if a nuclear power plant, had just released some of its toxins or poison into the atmosphere and nobody else could go down that road. And Truman starts to ask, the officer who walks up to the car to say, man, you got to turn around. Nobody can get through here. Truman says, is there no other way around? The guy says, unfortunately, it isn't. And Truman says, okay, then no problem. And the officer, who is obviously an actor, they all know who Truman is, though. They know what job they had. They know what show they're on. This actor wasn't thinking. This officer wasn't thinking. He says, thank you, officer. He said, no problem, Truman. And that's when Truman thinks, why would you know my name? Why would you know my name? You understand? And so at this point, Truman jumps out of the car and starts running because he can't drive because all the cars are backed up. And they chase him down and capture him. And the dude said if he really wanted to leave, there's nobody stopping him. Come on, man. You had 5 dudes around this man. You don't want this man to leave. And it's even so bad that they even attempted to drown the man to keep him from getting free. You understand? So this scene is him, of course. Truman is buying all these different magazines, putting together the images or the features of different models to try to form this face of this girl, Sylvia, that he had met on the Truman Show, right? He really wants to see this girl again. He fell for her in high school, love at first sight, and he can't get her off his mind. Now, the reason this stands out to me was because this is how we are with the truth. We're really piecing it together. You know what I'm saying? We don't have the whole picture yet. And so in life, it's kind of like this lingering question to us, like where we come from, where do we go when we die? And because we don't have these answers, it makes you grasp at straws and accept your reality. They know what they're doing. You can live your life by knowledge, or you can live your life in fear or in hope. If you live your life in fear and in hope, you can be easily manipulated. If you live your life by knowledge, it would be harder to manipulate you. You understand? But it's by fear that you accept hell. It is by fear that keeps you in religion. And it is by hope that you accept heaven. It is by hope that keeps you in religion. A lot of people, their desires to see their family member in heaven is what keeps them in Christianity. They don't want to miss that opportunity if it's there. So they say, I'd just rather believe in something than not, because I want to go be with my family who I assume is in heaven. You don't know. God's rules are really, really hard, and standards are really hard to live up to. So believe me, you could have possibly had a family member who you thought was the best Christian in the world, and they could have burned forever in hell simply for not knowing something. Please understand, many of you have grandfathers who were probably great Christians but were uncircumcised. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because maybe they didn't have the money to go do it. Maybe they didn't know they had to be circumcised because their pastor didn't teach them that. You see what I'm saying? And so many people who believe like, hey, there's no God in the sky. Well, then where do we go when we die? When this question is normally the fear of hell or the hope of heaven, right? You're going to go to hell. You can tell, like, people always assert over you what their own projection is, whatever it is in their head. So you can tell when a person lives in fear because that's what they spew out. You understand? This is why I tell you, you are what you say. And to say that in another way, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. If it's full of fear, you're going to speak fear. So Kevin, why is it that people threaten you with hell? Because they are scared. Do you see how that works? I'm not scared. I know hell isn't real. I know Satan doesn't exist. So why would a person sincerely threaten me with hell? Because they truly believe in it. And why would they threaten me with hell? Because they fear hell. If I'm going to walk away from religion or a certain belief, and your first thing to me is, man, Kevin, it's the last days, you're going to bust hell wide open, that's your fear. This is why you're warning me of that, right? Now, if you come out and say, Kevin, what about all the things God done for you, right? It tells me that you feel guilty. You feel you've given so much of your credibility, so much of the credit of things that happen in your life to this God, you don't know how to take your power back. Because it's very hard for you to accept that you the one did this. That's what religion does. It removes you so bad and reduces you so bad that you can't accept that you actually are capable of doing something without this fake Jesus. And that's the crazy thing. They say you can do all things through Christ that strengthen you. It is amazing how they can reduce you to so small that you literally believe that. Yeah. He don't even exist. Ain't that crazy? Yeah. And people really think they can't do anything without something that doesn't exist.
And give credit for what they're doing to something that they don't even know exists. And it like you say, it diminishes your self-worth. It diminishes your self-confidence. It just diminishes you.
And someone says children ask without fear. Children ask because they want to know. You know, and the problem is questions require answers. And because they're, because you can't explain it to them, you now get upset and then you get angry and you make them scared of God because you can't answer a question that your children have. They're asking a question because it's not logical. They come to you, like I asked my grandmother, how could God walk if he's already there? You know, reading Genesis when it says God walked through the cool of the garden or God walked through the garden. I was thinking, how can he walk if he's already there? If you're already in Tibet, why would you take a plane to Tibet? Like, it's so crazy to me. Right. How can you walk if you're everywhere? Yeah. You already there. You know?
I tell people like this. Why do you have to do, if God did it for you, why did you have to do the same thing that everybody else did to get what it is that you need to get? Like if you want a degree or if you have some type of profession or career, why did you have to take the test? Why did you have to take the same classes? Why did you have, you see what I'm saying? God should have already just put it in your mind or put it in your brain, just like they did on the Matrix when they wanted to know something. They just uploaded it, to their consciousness, and immediately they knew how to do the thing that they needed to do. But that doesn't happen in real life. You have to go forth and do everything, have the same credentials, have the same requirements that everybody else does, but your belief is what did. God did it for me. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have this house. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be a doctor. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be a lawyer. But you still got student loans. You still had to pass the bar. You see what I'm saying? You still had to go to medical school. So it just doesn't make sense.
And you're gonna be one of them student loans too.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, if God is responsible for giving the knowledge, why did you have to go to school, a government approved school, to get a government approved certificate to do the job in which God gifted you to do? Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is what I mean. I drink with my pinky out. But that's
you wouldn't notice that. You know.
I'm bougie. Nah. No, man. Y'all crazy, man. See, you'll get me thrown off. So we'll get back to it. So if you just imagine your life without being taught things like without God you're nothing, without Christ you're nothing. You can do all things only through Christ, right? Without, even on your best day, you're worth nothing but filthy rags. If you were not given these type of paradigms, you would not be so, you would not look down on yourself so much. You know, even now, when Christians or people who identify with religion, when they hear people like us call ourselves names like God, which is a word that was created, a German word actually, that was created 1800 years ago, or in the 1800s, I should say, forgive me. When they hear us refer to ourselves as God, people say, well, the Bible says in the last days people will be praising themselves, and it's like just by people saying this scripture to you, you're now afraid to praise yourself or give yourself any credit or encouragement, right? Because you now have to be humble because you don't want to be arrogant or pompous, right? Because pride comes before a fall, and this is what the Bible teaches, right? Absolutely, I am not me, absolutely, and this is what the Bible teaches or religious literature teaches. And so when you accept all of that stuff, you can't accept all of that without giving up yourself, losing yourself in the process, because that's what the Bible is. That's what religious literature is anyway. It tells you to die to yourself so that this religion or this God can exist. And so if you don't die to yourself, you're going to continue to have questions. Jamie said earlier that, that religion actually makes you not ask questions. Yeah, it puts you in that silent place. Actually, the better you get at religion, the more you don't ask questions. The questions I used to ask, like, why would a God walk if he's already there? As I got older in church and was in there a little longer, when I saw other children or other young adults asking that question, asking simple questions like that, I actually felt pity for them and was like, shame on them. Their faith is not there yet. As if it was a bad thing that they were asking questions, and their asking questions was some kind of proof of a lack of faith. Because faith, if you lack it, you can actually be criticized by the Bible and called things like a doubting Thomas, right? Or be criticized for having a lack of faith. And we talked about this before. You can be criticized by having a lack of faith, but faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. And I say all the time, faith can't be the size of a mustard seed. Faith is just a word with a definition attached. You can't measure faith to something that actually exists that has a real measurement. You understand? A mustard seed can be measured in reality because it actually exists. Faith is just a word. So if I were to say, have love the size of a mustard seed, please understand, love is just a word that we're trying to define something with, right? It's just a word. So love cannot be measured in the way that an element in reality can be measured. But we don't think about that. We just accept the reality in which we're presented, like the man said. And it's simple as that, right? So how do we come out of that? When we realize that, thank you very much, Tim. Absolutely, brother. When we realize that we are, in fact, contributing to the very matrix that we don't want to live in, what do we do? Do we stop or do we continue to contribute to the matrix, right? Many of you may not, go and buy, $3,000 handbags and Louis Vuitton and stuff like that, but some of us do. And the reason is, why do we do it? There's a root to it. You understand? Let's deal with that. Somebody said root earlier, and it made me think, because we talk about root or different words and how they have different meanings. So just so you guys can understand what I mean when I say that, Phoenician is when words are spoken. Definition is when words are written down. You understand? Definition is a word written down. Phoenician is when it's just frequency, when it's spoken. So when you definition a word and write it down, you have taken the Phoenician out of it. That's why it's called definition. You understand? So we're talking about sound here, like just speaking. So the word root, if you could not spell it, we know the word root, and even if you do spell it, it spells the same every time, right? Unless you're spelling it as in driving directions, and you spell it R-O-U-T-E, right? But I can show you how all these words have something in common, right? Now, root. What can root mean? Now, I want you guys to tell me, what all words can root mean? Just R-O-O-T. What all can you get from the word root? I'm going to wait and see what you guys are saying.
All right, while they putting that in the chat, Kevin, I want to go back to something that you said earlier about pride and then with faith being measurable, okay? Mm-hmm. Pride, first of all, they teach you not to have pride, but the preacher himself it's not humble. He has to preach in a pulpit. He has to put himself on high. He has to have the best of everything. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't practice. He doesn't practice being humble. He doesn't practice not being proud. And then to make a point, what you said about faith being measurable, if you have too much faith, if you have too much trust, then you become stupid. Because if you had $1 million and I say, hey man, let me borrow $1 million, I'm gonna give it right back to you. Like if you did that, and got taken advantage of, somebody would be like, bro, that's stupid. But someone else would be like, you had a lot of faith or you had a lot of trust in that person and you got taken advantage of. So having too much faith actually makes you stupid. It can.
Well, stupid means to act without thinking.
Okay.
So it absolutely does make you stupid. You don't think when you act, right?
Yeah.
Somebody walks up to you and put their hand on your head or tell you, I got a word from the Lord. You're just going to stand there and listen to it. You didn't validate that person. They could be very well aligned to you. And you will take your next job or quit your current job because you believe in God. You don't even know that person.
Yeah.
A person can walk right up to you in the parking lot of Walmart and be like, I want to pray with you. I'm a prophet. And he told me to sprinkle a word over you or say a word over you. And you will sit there and listen to it. And literally drive off thinking it's confirmation of some sort. That person just did it to everybody in the parking lot. You understand what I'm saying? But either which way, I saw people responding. They said origin. They said to plant. And they say grounded. Root. Absolutely. When you root something, you ground it. Absolutely. A foundation absolutely goes along with origin. Absolutely. Bottom. We have the bottom could be the root. Absolutely. Okay, so let's just deal with that word, root. Now, money is the root of all evil. Now we deal with this word root in this definition or this phrase as in the beginning, right? Money is the beginning or the origin of evil, right? It's the root, right? But what if I told you that root does not mean origin in that statement? It means spell. Remember that root? Remember whenever you put a hex on someone, you put a root on them? You remember that? So money is a root. It's a witchcraft. It's not real. It's not real. So if you believe in it, the hex that's on you is evil. Do you understand? You're on a hamster's wheel fighting for money that is printed by the people who put you on the wheel. Do you not understand this? So money is the root to their evil, not your own. Do you understand that? The root that they put on you was evil. And what got you to believe in that root was fake money because they accept this money. You believe it's now real. A $1 bill costs 2 cents to print. A $20 bill is the same size and it just has a 20 on it. And we think because it has a 20 on it, it's actually more valuable than the one with the 1 on it. Well, it's accepted as more valuable, but it's the same size and same ink. So to the people that print this dollar, it is actually equal as it costs 2 cents to print them both. And you will go to work for $20 an hour before you would $1 an hour, wouldn't you? Even though it's the same bill. It's the same. It costs the government the same to pay you $1 as it would. Now just think about government jobs, right? Police jobs, teacher jobs, people who are lower paid, right? Now we talk about police officers. Say they put their. This is exclude, of course, the obvious flip side of police making bad decisions, right? But let's just say all cops were good, right? The government is taking care of their salaries and they would be underpaid considering that they put their life at risk. Same thing for teachers, right? So when the government pays you, it costs them the same to pay you $20 an hour as $1 an hour because to the government, money is 2 cents. You understand? It's 2 cents a dollar. Y'all understand that? So I want you guys to think about this. When I go to a convenience store and I spend $1, I paid more to spend my dollar than they paid to make it. Do you understand how fake the matrix is now? It costs back home, it'll cost me 6 cents to spend $1. What's your tax rate here?
Depending on what you buy, it's like 8 cents.
8 cents.
On food, it's like 2 cents.
2 cents, okay. So if he's buying something that's not food, then it's 8 cents on the dollar, right? Just like monopoly money, absolutely. Absolutely, it's probably the same cost, 2 cents for a little bit of monopoly dollar, right, Jamie?
I never even thought of that, man. That's crazy.
Right now, if the government started accepting monopoly money, we would see it as real. Yeah. We would be killing each other over yellow and red dollars. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Ain't that crazy, bro? You know, so when you think about that, like, yeah, money green and it seems valuable to us now, but that's because we're under a spell. Money is the root. You got a root put on you, right? So the evil that the government has for you is the root, not your evil for loving money. You're under a spell for loving money. You're not evil. You just got tricked into loving what it seems like is real because the government, that's the reality you accept because that's the reality that you're presented, that money is actually powerful or money actually is, what's the name? Let me see here. There's a comment I wanted to read the rest of first to see.
Is it Linda?
Yeah.
Oh man, it won't.
You wouldn't let me see the whole thing either. Yeah, I ain't worried about it.
Okay.
I couldn't see it all in there. I would have read it, but I don't want to read partial and can't get the whole thing out. So Yes, Frankie, the amount of U.S. currency should be equal to gold in the reserve, but it is not, right? So we understand that this is just legal tender. It's just legal tender. It acts as a representative of money. Why do you think your currency is always changing? When you see prices go up and down, this is not every producer of products in the world raising their prices. Your dollar just dropped in value. You understand? This is what's really happening. When you see fuel prices go up, fuel didn't get more expensive. Your dollar got less expensive. So if your dollar was real, it would be solid. It wouldn't be so fickle. Your dollar is just an imagination. It can change tomorrow. The value of your dollar can change tomorrow. Just like words, right? A new word can be presented tomorrow that is the same as an old word, and we have to apply that new meaning now because it's being said, right? We do this all the time.
I got Lindell's comment. He said he basically Lindell saying, "Give me all of the money in your pocket, and I'll take the root off of you." He's just making a funny comment. And then someone in the chat said it's the love of money is the root. Like it doesn't matter how verbatim you want to be with the scripture. The premise is still the same, you know. So
absolutely, and that actually makes it even perfect. Again, when I say when you perceive money as value, then of course. That's love for money. Not understanding that it works in the matrix. So when he said, if you give me all your money and I'll take that root off of you, I get the joke. Money is needed. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I'm not telling you that throw all your money away. According to the matrix we live in, yeah, we have to accept that money works, right? Because if you couldn't be able to go out and get food if you didn't have this money. So definitely be careful with how you spend your money. But it's not actually valuable. You understand? It's only valuable in the matrix you live in. You understand? So I was talking to a friend about like certain rules that we put over each other in the realm of like dating and things of that nature, right? So let's just say, for instance, there's an expectation for men in a relationship. There's an expectation for women in a relationship, right? So if there's an expectation, where do the expectations come from? A lot of times our parents, our own parents' discretions. I talked about it on a video last week. Opening a car door, how all of a sudden it makes you a gentleman. Sending a woman dead flowers is romantic. We didn't make this stuff up. We're simply contributing to the matrix that we're presenting. But these things are all required, and they come with character definitions. If I send a woman flowers and I'm now looked at as a gentleman or a good guy, if I don't do them, then I'm probably inconsiderate. Don't like her that much. If I buy her a really big diamond ring, one that she can present to her friends, it means that I love her a whole lot more than if I couldn't do those things, right? So we come up with all these rules, right? But let's just say you're removed from this matrix, and let's say you live on a deserted island. A lot of these rules that we hold for each other wouldn't even exist anymore, but they're only according to our matrix. The conversation that we had the other day was about street curves. A lot of you guys saw that video. I told you guys that I had saw a photo a while back of a couple that was walking on the curb, and they gave the guy a hard time. And turns out he didn't know that he was supposed to walk on the right side of the curb. You know, I learned that day as well. So I was like, if I was in the car, man, I would have been jacked up. You know what I mean? But again, from a paradigm of someone who was taught that a man should walk on the outside of the curb, that's going to be totally different. Right. But if you were in a jungle, if you were in a place where they didn't have curves, this actual stigma wouldn't exist, that you should walk on the out, because there wouldn't be one, right? And so this is why I say, like, now you can easily look at a guy and say, man, you understand that the streets are dangerous. You should walk on the outside. I walk on the outside. I do. But at the same time, I know that men existed before curves, right? They existed prior to curves. So a rule can't exist to a curve to make you a man. Right. But these are stigmas that we hold over each other. Same thing with a woman. We'll say that if she ain't in the kitchen, she ain't a woman, or she can't cook, or whatever, right? And this is how they do these type of things. But in different matrices, we wouldn't apply things that way. This is only from our standpoint. So we accept the matrix in which we're presented, and not knowing that we're actually contributing to the matrix. So when I tell my daughter, hey, sweetie, if a guy don't open his car door for you, don't even go out on a date with him. I'm contributing to that matrix that if he doesn't open his car door, then he must be a bad person. Right. And does that really make you a bad person? Because we actually know that people can open your car door and do all the things right and literally be playing you the whole time. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times we do things that I think make us feel comfortable. But why do they make us feel comfortable? Yesterday when I got on the plane, I was riding with a guy who turned out to be a minister, right? Mm-hmm. And I could tell he was by his conversation. But I began to say to him, without trying to offend him, I said, I was very religious for a lot of part of my life. And what I found is that many religions, because he was talking about his God, of course, but I said many religions, they give that same credit to their God, and I found that many of their literatures is the same, but what I've also found is that none of them had actual tangible proof. And so one of the things that amazes me about mankind is how they accept their beliefs. This is what I was saying to him without trying to offend him. One of the things that amazes me about all these different cultures all over the world, including Christianity, is how that we all seem to think that we're right over everyone else. And we've only had one belief system given to us, right? Why is it that an Indian or a Hindu would be willing to argue with a Christian over Krishna being more real than Jesus if he's never read the Bible? Think about that. Why else would a Muslim be willing to argue with a Christian over Allah being the supreme God and not Yahweh, or Jesus being a prophet versus a son of God? And they've never read the Bible or have any proof of Allah, Muhammad, Jesus even existing, but would argue that he's a prophet and not the son of God. This is what I'm saying, guys. Yeah. We don't have record of Jesus even existing. And a Muslim will say, well, he was just a prophet. You know why he says that? Not because Jesus exists. He says it because the book he believes in says Jesus is a prophet. You understand? So when someone says that, Kevin, woe in the last days, many gonna fall away. They're not saying that because it's true and a God said it. You understand? They're saying it because it's written in the book that they believe was inspired by God. Because if they were Muslim, they would give me a different threat, right? So please understand how the mind really works. They're feeding you their matrix. That's all they possibly can do. Right now, tell me something you don't know. Right now, somebody just tell me anything you don't know. What's the square root of this room?
You would need some more information to figure that out.
There's no way you can tell me something that you don't know.
Let me make a point with the guys. I was just thinking about this today. So God is the only true God in the universe, right? And in the beginning, just by the things that are taking place, everybody should know this, that he's the only God. So where all of these other gods come from, and why didn't, when these other gods start to emerge, because God is the true God, he's the original. When these other imitation gods start to surface, why doesn't God step in and be like, yo, why, no, I'm the true God, I'm the living God. Didn't you see what I just did over here? Like, wasn't that told throughout the ages, what I did, or not even the ages, just throughout time? You've been alive long enough to know that this thing took place, that this thing happened. So these other guys never killed anybody. These other guys never did. You would say, well, they was false gods, Rick. How could they? But the thing is this, okay? If I was a parent and my son, I created my son, okay? As a parent, if my son goes off and start calling another man daddy, I'm gonna have a problem with that. You see what I'm saying? And that is indicative that I did something wrong. That I'm off in some point. So if my son goes off and start calling another man dad, or start looking up to another man as his father, that means I haven't done something right. You see what I'm saying? I've erred in some way. So again, all of this stuff just really doesn't make sense. So if God was the original God, where all these other gods come from? And if these other gods surface, then God has the original God, the God that you worship, has to take some type of responsibility for that.
Absolutely. And someone asked a while ago, what do you believe in, or what God do you believe in, or whatever. Let's look at the word believe. What does believe mean? To subscribe to something without proof. We refuse to do that anymore. Please understand, where we stand is, if any person believes in something, we're going to ask for proof. We do that because we feel it's healthy, and we don't want to walk right back into the same type of crap we came out of. We understand this. The brain doesn't change overnight. Now, you can awaken. You can realize you've been lied to, but changing how you do things can take time. If you're used to hearing something that sounds good and believing it solely because you feel like it just sounds good, then you can do the same thing as you did when you were in religion. You can go off and still be believing in stuff that has not been proven. So belief, again, yeah, there you go. Believe. Anytime you say I believe, you be lying, right? Be lie. Just notice alien, a lie, right? So yeah, be lie. We don't want to contribute to belief. We rather look at our life as observers, right? Live our life not knowing and say, hey, when we know, we'll know, and there will be no need for belief, right? So, okay, cool.
No, that's cool.
Because there's another thing how you put it.
Yeah, I can put it back up, man. It's fine.
Nah, it won't be that one. It'll be a different
Well,
one.
I just kept the pick up, man, because it's not important that I be seen. So, but it's all good. If you guys
Rick
want to see
cut that out.
You guys want to see my ugly mug? It's all right.
So again, that's how I look at belief. So I choose not to subscribe to believing in something before I have enough information to where I feel secure saying, okay, I can see it went that way. I see a lot of things being discussed now that I don't have all my pieces together to make a complete, give my complete opinion on it. So I keep my mouth closed. I don't deal with that. I want to know for sure before I speak something out loud to you guys. I don't want to be blowing smoke. I did that once before. You know what I mean? So we don't believe in anything, guys.
Yeah, my whole thing about belief is this: we teach our children from very young ages to believe in a God, to believe in whatever, but we don't teach them to believe in themselves. We teach them to believe in Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, all of this nonsense, but we never teach them. When do you teach your child? I'm not talking about people who are aware or awake or conscious, whatever you want to call it, but just in mainstream America or culture. I've never been taught to believe in myself from growing up at an early age. My development occurred on my own. I developed myself by watching others, watching educational things on television. Even in school, I was never taught to believe in myself, and that's very important at a very young age. You know, from the age of 0 to 6. A young child's mind is very impressionable during that time period. So during these times when we're teaching our children fairy tales and myths and all of these things, we should be teaching them to believe in themselves and teaching them things that is vital to their progression into their development. So when you talk about believe in yourself. I don't have to wait on a savior because I am a savior. You see what I'm saying? I don't have to wait for Christ to return. I am Christ. Go be Christ. Go save somebody. Go adopt a child if you have the means to do so. Go get involved in someone's life and do something for them that's life changing, and you can save that person. So you don't have to believe in someone else that's coming back to save you. You go be Christ. You go be the Savior. I don't believe in a Savior because I am one.
Absolutely. And that's what it really feels like to wake up. You become the very person that you believed in, and realize that's the safest place to put your trust, because you know you, right? You got firsthand in your life, no one else's. And a lot of times we misplace that. Now listen, I asked a question the other day, have any of you ever been hurt by someone you looked up to? And many of you said yes, and we noticed that we did the same things that we did in church. We held people in high regard because we felt like they were beneficial to us by way of knowledge. And we realized that we shouldn't do that we should look at people, as an oracle of truth or information, and just that. We don't need to put each other on pedestals, because what that does is it almost convinces you that these people are perfect and without flaw, when we know they're not. We know they're human just like everybody else, and they're teaching information, going and getting information, and turning on a freaking live video to give y'all information. None of this makes them worthy of being held in that regard. None of it. We don't know their lives or anything. Y'all don't know my life like that to be holding me in high regard like, Kevin can't do wrong. Always be aware, man. You guys have to get to a point to where you don't let someone control you like that. We love each other. We love what each other brings to the table, but never put them in a place to where they have immunity. You understand what I'm saying? And they are beyond asking questions. You understand? Somebody asked me earlier, speaking of questions, how do you feel about ancestors? I believe that the ancestors are very true because we're here. We wouldn't be here without having other people here before us. Now, do I believe that our ancestors are floating around in spirits and they got our back, like in the form of actual spirits? I believe that our ancestors have our back by way of genes, right? By way of genetics. They are inside of us. You can pull my genetics and still see all of my ancestors that came before me, right? And see who I'm connected to. And so they do still make up me. So I am my ancestors, right? I am them as I come from them, right? My biological body, I borrowed from them. This is the way I look at my ancestors. If you apply ancestors to being outside of you, floating around, of course, as in the spirit form, then the same questions can be asked about Yahweh as the ancestors. People can say, where was the ancestors during slavery? Because when you say ancestors, because they have a religious mindset. When you say ancestors, they think you think like angels floating around in the sky. Like we thought angels were guarding our bedrooms when we were asleep. You see what I'm saying? So if you talk about ancestors and it's ambiguous, and you go from saying, spirits and angels to, you go from saying spirits and angels to ancestors, it's easy for a person who comes from the paradigm of believing in spirits to think you talking about a spirit or angels when you say the word ancestors. And then what they'll do is they will repeat that and actually believe that we have ancestors that float around us. But if we do have ancestors outside of us floating around us, then they would be inherently doing the same things that we blame Yahweh for doing. Watching us getting raped. Don't stop people from shooting up places. They don't stop people from killing black people, cops from killing black people. So our ancestors are actually powerless in that regard on manipulating our reality. They can't stop a bullet either. So it's foolish to think that they exist outside of you the same way. Look at your reality. Do you see cups floating in front of you? So let's stop it. If spirits and ghosts and stuff existed, then slave masters would have that. I promise you, they would have been haunted. Do you understand that? So the fact that they died free from being haunted, I think we can do away with the idea that human beings come back in a spirit form shaped like themselves for some reason to be mad about some crap that's obviously they can't do anything about now. You understand? Spirits actually look like you. How? If my spirit came back to you and looked like me, run. Okay? My spirit would not assume the form of a biological body.
You're just exchanging one thing for another. And let me address what someone said in the chat. I'm not the savior. Again, man, you gotta get out of this paradigm that I didn't say I was the savior. I said I was a savior. Okay, I'm a savior to many. I will continue to save people until I'm gone. So be a savior. And the thing about ancestors, I don't worship ancestors by pouring out libations or pouring out water and liquid or building some shrine. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody's culture and what they choose to do. If you want to build a shrine to your ancestors, that's traditional. Do what you need. Do what you feel like you need to do. But this is how I worship the ancestors. Okay, when somebody died for me, when somebody went through Jim Crow and marching and discrimination or whatever it is that they fought for me to have the right to do what it is that I do right now in my life, or have these so-called liberties that we have, because we do have some liberties. We have to be honest. Things can change. Things could be a whole lot better, but they are a whole lot better than what it was 100 years ago. Okay, so we have to be honest about that. Some things have changed, names and the system has changed to manipulate us in a different type of way. But this is my thing. Okay, when you have a trap, okay, and you continue to fall in the trap, I don't see how. I'm gonna talk about a package real quick, okay? Because it's this thing called. You get a package, right? And you know what's in that package. It's heroin, it's pills, it's drugs, okay? Underneath that package, on top of that package, there's some money. And let's image in real quick. Okay, sure. Let's take an image really quickly. Like my brother say, image in. Let's imagine, okay, that there's a pile of money on this package, okay? On this package also, underneath that pile of money, there's a disclaimer. And in this disclaimer, it says, kill, be killed, okay, or prison, okay, because that's what that package is, okay. It's not gonna, when you accept that package, it's not gonna turn out any different for you than it has turned out for everyone else. Now let's go back to the trap, okay. When someone has already fallen in the trap, now when they flooded our communities with drugs, and they flooded our communities with all of these social ills. It makes sense to me that it worked in the 60s, in the 70s, in the early 80s, or whenever the crack epidemic came to be. It made sense during that time, okay? But we're in 2018 right now, and I know when you put certain people, I'm not discounting the psychological effect of it. I understand when you put people in crowded conditions and you put them in poverty, I know the result of that, okay? But also, when you see people falling in the trap and you see that this thing is working out for them the same way, okay? You can't think that the trap is going to work out any different from you. Look at our music. We got trap music. We have a trap house. We call it trapping. Okay, so it's telling you right there what it is. Okay, so when you choose to just fall in the trap, oh, the trap is right here. It's right here. It's right. Come on, fall in the trap, and that's what you do. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta, if you see the trap and you recognize the trap, then you gotta go around the trap. And this is the thing with our young brothers and sisters, mostly our young men out here in these communities. I can speak on it because I came from it. Okay, when you choose that route. Okay, because you're trying to escape, right? You taking this risk, trying to escape. But this is what you actually ultimately end up doing. You're trying to escape hell. You're trying to escape the ghetto. You're trying to escape poverty, okay? But what you're doing is you're actually accelerating yourself back into that same condition, because when you go to prison, what you living in? What they usually call that? You living in hell. Okay, so you're trying to do something to escape hell that's going to ultimately end you up right back in hell again. Okay, so you gotta not be weak, because when people talk about being gangster, they talk about thugging, they talk about all of these things. You're actually being weak. When you give up, that's being weak. Okay, because I'm gonna tell you, I'm a strong one. Okay, because I've endured everything that you could possibly endure, and it hasn't broke me. I am unbreakable from birth until death. There's nothing that's gonna be able to break me. Okay, because my mind is strong. Okay, you may be strong in your body, but you're weak in your mind. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to strengthen people's minds, strengthen their mental capacity to where they can be able to handle and endure anything, because we have many things to endure. But if you have a strong mind, you can make it. Okay, I'm gonna pass it back to Kevin.
Listen, that's an alley hoop right there. He said if you have a strong mind, you can make it. Our problem is, like I say, we don't think, guys. I was talking with a friend earlier, and I was talking about how, just to play on words a little bit. Jamal, I was watching him teach the other day, and I said, drop those jewels, bro. But I spelled jewels, Jules, and he immediately knew what I was saying. He said, see, Kevin's using the word jewels as a form of energy. Now, why do they call jewels jewels? Because it's stones, and stones are fuel, right? We know that we burn stones, coal, and things like that for fuel today, right? We know this. So we know that stones are fuel to us. So again, they're called jewels, like jewels of energy. So I just told Jamal, I said, man, keep giving those jewels, because the truth hurts. HERTZ, right? As in it empowers you. And again, I say these things because I want you to be able to look at them differently. Why do you wear jewels? Do you not feel like they empower you? Is that why you go get the jewelry and put it on your neck? The jewels, right? Because you feel like it makes you more prettier. Even if you put your earrings in, you put your big necklace on, right? It does give you more energy. It gives you more attention from the outside, right? Because you feel like it makes you more valuable. We do understand this. And again, why do you feel that way? By your matrix. Diamonds are not really valuable, but your matrix taught you that they were. All I'm doing is saying, if we can step back and look at our matrix and really carefully look at it, the next step is to adjust your brain and how you think. Because the first thing you got to get back is your critical thinking faculties, because you had to lose them in order to accept religion. Please understand that. You couldn't have both. There is no way that you can actually have really strong critical thinking faculty and have your religion, unless you lie dormant when your religion is being preached, right? And you don't apply your critical thinking faculties to religion. And I've seen people do that. I've seen people can function in reality, but will go to church and completely just become non-existent. So they can hear their religion and shout and do the same repetitive stuff, knowing that it doesn't make any sense, And so even I probably will have people say, Kevin, I don't want to follow you anymore because I said the ancestors don't fly around us. If you're that upset about that, you need to question your paradigm, because you're questioning actual reality. Do you see them doing that? Is there anything around you that has evidence to prove that they act in that way? They don't. So all we did is replaced angels with ancestors, man. He said, I don't pour out libation. Let me tell you, I know someone who does, and when they do, it's actually a whole lot to it. They're saying that I'm pouring this out, meaning I'm sacrificing something that I was going to give myself because I respect what they did for me. That's cool. But when you're pouring libation thinking that you're actually giving your ancestor water, please stop that, y'all. It doesn't work that way. This is symbolic. You understand? And again, it's religion, a religory, right? To bind the tie up. It has held us back, and now we can't think without it. So that's why I say, once you realize that your religion is false, or what you've been spending your life believing in is false, Now it's time to re-examine your mind and make sure it works critically and start applying critical thinking to anything before you subscribe to it and say, hey, I believe in that. Because why would you want to end up looking stupid again, guys? The problem is when you believe in something, you start living your life according to your belief. You see, if I'm a Christian and I believe in Jesus, then now I got to believe that this is good, this is bad. Boiling a goat in its mother's milk is bad. And murder, if God tells you to, is good. Rape, if God tells you to, is good. If God sends you into a kingdom and says, kill all the Amalekites, all the women and children who have known a man, but the women who have not known a man, keep alive for yourself. This is God condoning rape, and it is in fact now good, right? Because I've seen kings, well, I haven't seen them, obviously, right, because they never existed. But I've read literature in the Bible on kings who did not kill as God told them to. And they were actually punished for not killing people. Please understand that. So when people say, well, murder is wrong because God said so. Well, what about when God told David to kill Goliath or gave him the strength to do it? Was it murder then? Was it murder whenever God gave Saul all the power to kill all those animals, donkeys, so forth and so on? He gives these people power to kill, but says murder is wrong. In fact, he told them to turn on each other and kill each other. Yeah. Not just an outside army. When they worshiped the golden calf, they had to turn on each other and kill each other. So you know that do not murder or rules with God are very ambiguous. One day they're serious. The next day, I need you to murder someone for me. Wait a second. You the God of the entire universe who has the power to just snap your finger and that person not even exist anymore. You want me to pick up a sword and stab my brother with it because he worshipped the golden calf? Just snap your finger and end it all. Why does he have to go through that pain? Why does he have to see his brother force a sword through his chest? Yeah. Just think about how crazy that is. He said the irony, right? Because swords are made from iron. That's probably not why you said it. But that's my mind.
Oh man, you in a constant state of fear with this God. And again, like I don't honor my ancestors. If you choose to do so, I honor them by the way I live my life. Okay, I honor them with the sacrifice that they made, saying, hey, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm going to make the most of it, okay? Even though I came in this world with the odds stacked against me, even though I came in with no mother, no father, okay, foster care, whatever you took, I got to take one on the chin too. You took one on the chin, I got to take one on the chin. So that's respect, okay? You didn't give up, I'm not going to give up, okay? The only way I'm going to give up is, but ain't no more spirit in this body. There ain't no more breath in this body. That's the only thing that's going to stop me, okay? I'm going to do the very best that I can to break cycles. I've broken so many cycles, and I'm going to continue to break those cycles until I'm gone. And that, I think, what if I didn't do that? What if I just built a shrine, and we're not dogging people who worship their ancestors, okay? But what if I just built the shrine and poured out libations and did the little rituals or whatever, but didn't do anything else in my life? Where would I be?
That's exactly where I was gonna go.
Okay, so it just you gotta honor them by the way you live your life and just making things better for your family, breaking these generational curses, which they're not curses, they're just ignorance. Mm-hmm. Okay, breaking generational ignorance. Okay, and going forth and making better decisions with the knowledge that you now have and apply it. Make it applicable. Okay.
Look, let's say you were an ancestor. You are an ancestor. You gave your life to make the future better for the ones who came after you, right? You were one of them. Or you sacrificed your life. You said, hey, I guess I'll have to be a slave, right? And then, of course, they brought children into the world and gave us an opportunity to stand up against this system, whatever. Would you think they'd be more appreciative of you doing the ritualistic type of lifting them up? Or are they more appreciative of you taking on the baton that they left for you, which is standing up against the paradigm that we live in and still continue to fight for freedom? See, Rick said, I don't honor my ancestors, but he truly does. He honors them in the highest regard. He picked up the baton and said, I will speak even if it means that my life won't be as blissful because people around me are going to hate me by what I say. And I'm more than willing to stand up and do my part in history, right? Just like they did their part in history. You understand? So when I look back and I see the ancestors of ours who stood up and did something positive in the world, created positive change, whether that be, marching and doing something like that or creating some genius technology or something or cure for something. or used for something that made the world better. I feel like the best way that we could actually honor them is to pick up the baton and carry it on and focus on the betterment of our world and the people coming after us like they did. See, the thing about a lot of these slaves who stood up, they could see outside of their paradigm. They understood that if I carry my life just being silent, and yes, if I'm silent, I probably won't be assaulted. I probably won't have my life stripped from me early. I probably won't be hung. But man, if I stay quiet, my kids will have to go through the same thing. My grandchildren have to go through the same thing. So in light of that information, being able to transcend time and see into the future, they stood up, and it cost a lot of them their lives. This is how we honor them, y'all, by being willing to do the same thing. Yes, my life is not going to be as blissful. Yes, I'm probably going to be challenged a whole lot more because I'm speaking out against a corporate entity like the government and how wrong it is. Yes, obviously, my life is probably going to be a little bit harder, but dadgummit is worth it because they gave their life for this. They knew that there was a noose potentially waiting for them, and they still stood up. They knew their leg could be chopped off, and they still was willing to flee. You see what I'm saying? They lived in a time to where, man, it wasn't no joke. Like, you know what I mean? So we actually have this freedom to speak. Now, we know that there are still consequences that come with it, but let's be honest. There was a time you couldn't say this stuff out loud. And you think we got cojones? No, man. They had them. So I pay my respects to them in that regard. I don't even use the word salute because that's a soldier term and it's created by my government. Again, I don't want to honor them by giving them a freaking salute because that's the people who conquered them and came to this land and conquered the people here, went to Africa, conquered the people there, and went to every other mass of land and conquered the people everywhere they went. You know, I don't want to use terms like salute, but I will say I do honor the people who sacrificed their life in their world, because it's not just their life. They made their current life before they died the more difficult. And that's what we're doing. We're literally laying down our lives for the betterment of our people. There's no other way to represent your ancestors. Trust me. And I guarantee you, if your ancestors had a choice, if you had a choice right now, how would you want someone to represent you after you die? Would you say, pick up where I left off or pour out water for me? Really, what would you say? Let's be honest. You would say, pick up where I left off. Continue to carry this burden, man. You right? Continue to try to make the world a better place. That's what you would want. And I hate that it even takes, we have to even be on a subject like on that regard for that long, but ancestors and things like that are really prevalent in our communities now, as we still need something to hope in and, you know, and believe in that someone has our back outside of us. So Ricky said earlier, you know, ancestors are really equivalent to angels when you believe that they exist outside of you, regardless of how you look at them. A guy said, I think it was Gustafson or whatever his name was, he made a good point. He said, I would rather honor my ancestors than use words like God, because who are you honoring in that regard? You are absolutely right. I agree. Because I know only one of them exists. It's the ancestors or God, and I know only one of them actually existed in the realm of reality. Right. You're right. You would want to give more recognition to your ancestors because it keeps them alive, essentially. You always want to talk about and big up what your ancestors did. This is why we still talk about these people. Right. But this is how you keep them up, by saying Mansa Musa and what he did when he crippled the economy, by saying who Mansa Musa was by his character and how much he gave to the people and didn't look at money the same way as a rich man would. He loved people and gave to them. So we talk about that character, that person who really existed in the realm of reality. We can talk about him in regards to how great of a person he was because he really existed. We don't need to talk about Noah, right? We don't need to talk about David and Daniel in the lion's den. We got people who was even doper than that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no, Malcolm X didn't kill a giant with a rock. But I'm gonna tell you, man, he did a whole lot to free thousands of people from mental slavery. Oh, yeah. You know how often that picture gets shared with him pointing into his brain? What is he telling you to do right there? Think. He was saying this long before there was a Kevin Wesley that ever existed. So I gotta give homage to him. Yeah. You understand? That's way more than David did. He didn't throw a stone, but he gave you his mind. You understand? And that's how you destroy giants in the real world, is knowledge. You understand? Because some of your giants is a man who's in the sky. You feel me?
We got to get to another level. You got to stay away from slavery. Okay, so I'm glad we're talking about this because I'm gonna make this last point. Okay, my sister died 2009, so technically she will be an ancestor. Okay, people that say they're gonna pray for you but don't do anything, like that's sick to me. Okay. Because you will tell, and this goes to young people. If you got young adolescent teenagers, crop this, download this video, take this part out, and show it to them, okay? Because we have young men and women in desperate situations, and we have adults who will see what they're doing. See they carrying guns, see they selling drugs. You got parents that'll even take money from their kids when they selling drugs because they know where they getting the money from, okay? But then they want to talk about when they get in trouble, I'm going to pray for you, okay? But that makes absolutely no sense. You are contributing to the demise of your own children, okay? When you accept, you know they're in the streets doing wrong, but you accepting the benefits of them risking their life. And then when something happens to them, you want to cry and you want to talk about when they get locked up, I'm going to pray for you to get out of jail. Okay, that absolutely makes no sense. Okay, so I don't pray for people. Okay, I won't pray for you. I will do for you. That's what I do. I don't pray. Absolutely. I don't give you words. I give you action. Okay, when my sister passed away, I got a 4-bedroom house and I was gonna take all her children. Okay, even if I had to eat top ramen every night, I work 2-3 jobs to take care of them. They wasn't mine, okay, but because their father wasn't there, I was gonna take them and take care of them and show them the exemplification of what a real man is. Okay. And I'll tell you what gangster is, okay? That what you doing out there in the streets, that's not gangster. Okay? Gangster is using your mind. Gangster is being able to keep your composure. Gangster is not giving up. When you take your gun and you go use it on someone just as poor as you, down the street from you, that's not your enemy. You actually become the enemy at that point, okay? When you terrorize your community, when you terrorize your neighborhood, you become the enemy. Okay, you act like you hunting from the enemy or you on guard from the enemy, but you actually become the enemy when you shoot up your community, when you shoot up your neighborhood. Okay, when you're willing to risk your life for nothing, and who you selling who you selling to? You're selling to people that look just like you, so that you can become a slave. Something your ancestors fought against. You deliberately and not intentionally, but you deliberately because you're not strong here. To suffer and to struggle through your situation and through your circumstance just for a small amount of time, because when you struggle and when you persevere and when you have persistence, things will get better for you. Okay, so my whole thing is prayer is no good. It's no good without action. So if you're gonna take the action, do you really need the prayer? Do you really need the words? Just tell somebody what you're gonna do for them, and you don't have to say anything. Just do it.
So watch this. I want to read this comment. Someone said, excuse me, guys. I'll pray for you. Translation. I'm not going to do expletive, but I need to feel superior to you. Right. Now, watch this. Outside of that, we're talking about thinking and how you abandon critical thinking faculties to be religious. When you say, I'll pray for you, here's what you're saying. I'm going to go talk to an all-knowing God about your situation and ask him to do something to change his plan, even though it's his plan, right? So I'm going to go to a God who already knows I'm going to go to him. He already knows what I'm going to pray, and yet he would require me to do that to help you. I'll pray for you, brother. That sounds ridiculous. And if you were using your critical thinking faculty, you wouldn't accept this crap sprinkled on any religion. I have seen conscious dudes stand up in front of congregations and still pray. And I'd be like, well, who you talking to, brother? Who's there? Who you talking to, sister? Right? Who's there? When you start talking out of yourself to a God, thank you for giving us, joy, and thank you for giving us life, and thank you for providing safe trips for, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? That's a valuable question, right? Because we all have to use our critical thinking faculties. But I've also watched people who sit in these type of gatherings and didn't ask, wait a second, time out. Who are you talking to? What God are you praying to right now? Because I just came out of religion. So I've watched people go from one religion to another and one level of consciousness to another and fairly be manipulated in every version of it because they don't think. Do you understand? Don't be lemmings, man. You have to be bigger than that. If someone's offended because you checking behind them, then that's their problem. You understand? Like someone asked me a while ago, didn't you say a pregnant woman was a father? No, I didn't. I posted a picture that shows a woman that was being pregnant and used the actual syllables of father, meaning fat her, meaning a woman who was with child, saying that this was something that was said at a point in time. Fat her, meaning father, right? Or of course, we combine the words now and it's father, but fat her. Again, I was talking about or referring to Phoenician, speaking words that are not yet written down, right? And the understanding of these words. So this is what I was talking about, but this is what I'm saying. This was 3 years ago or 2 years ago that I posted this picture, and I still have people that ask me about it. I actually find that as being okay, because do you have to accept something like that? You do not. It's actually irrelevant to being conducive to your life and growing, right? I simply showed you this image so you can look at something a different way. We always make the leader a father, right? God is a heavenly father, but we know that women are the source of life. We know that they, not the source, but of course the portal to get into this world. They carry the children, they carry the babies. And because of this, they are more apt to nurture, right? They have to feed you from their breast. A man can't do this. During this time, there is a bonding period with who? Your mother. When you see ball players, famous people, anybody, most people give thanks and credibility to their mother. But then we go off in reality and totally forget that and treat women like crap, as if our mother wasn't everything to us at one point in our lives and probably still currently, right? We go off and forget that. So my point for that post was, why do we always have to see a father as a man? When at one point in time, fat her is referring to a woman who was with a child, right? So if you look at it like that and say, okay, God has to be if God is a father making him a man, why is God a man? Why does he have a penis? Because God is also a mother, and it's in your same Bible. But we rather call him Heavenly Father over what's the name of it? Yeshua Shaddai, or El Shaddai, means the many-breasted one, the God and the one that has many breasts, which is referring to being a mother, right? Someone who supplements you from within themselves, the teat, right? So I can feed you from within myself. That's what a mother does. She is unique in that regard. This is why she's held in high regard in that way. You understand what I'm saying? So, and of course, people take it to another level when they say, woman is God. And if you're looking at what they're saying, it makes sense. But no one is saying that woman is a man or a deity who sits in the sky and is a god by the way the definition of the word that was created in the 1800s meant. As in a character who holds all power, knows all your thoughts, has ultimate control. This is not what they mean when they say a black woman is God. They're referring to origin. They're saying your origin is, or the woman is God, period. When they say this, they're referring to your origin, where you come from. And that's why I do hate the word God. I don't hate anything, but I do dislike the word God because we do take a word that we didn't make and apply it to other crap, like we got control over that word, and we don't think about how much that word means to other people. You understand? So we're actually being a little bit misleading when we use the word God, because you didn't make that word. And so because you don't believe in the character in the sky, you now apply that name God to yourself or whatever it is that you believe holds the source of life. And now when you say the universe is God, you've now said the universe is a conscious being who judges you and knows everything. You're not saying the universe is the source of life. If you were saying that, just say that. Just say the universe is the source. Why you got to say God? Because God is already defined. This is my point. When people say, Kevin, what's your problem with the word God? It's already defined. You can't use it for what you want to use. It's not your word. It's not. God isn't a man. It's a word. It's a character. That's all it is. Even your God isn't named God. The God you believe in. I've never met a God named God. That's actually a generic term and a title for a sufficient being who sits in the sky. A God would never call himself a God. Number one, a God would never give himself a name, but why would he also give himself a title? Like lawyer, teacher, God. Really? Come on, guys, think about it. At one point, this being that y'all believe in, or a lot of you guys believe in as God, was the only being in existence. Why would he have a title God? Why would he have a name to be called by? Why? You're the only thing in existence. No one calls you. No one would need to call you. You understand? And when people say that God made light and said it was good, why would there be a need to make light? Couldn't God see without light? Ain't you made in his image? So God wouldn't need to make light for you to be able to see. God would have the perfect power to create you, not needing light to survive. But light is good. Listen, y'all, you living in a matrix. Light is only good because that predisposes that you need light to survive. Well, we already know you need light to survive. We're just saying God created it just because we don't have the answer to why light is there. But if there was a God, he wouldn't need to create light to create you. He's God. Do you not understand that? He could create you without creating the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, and plants for you to eat. You wouldn't need a Garden of Eden.
Why would he choose a name that he knows many other false ones are going to be attached to his name? You see what I'm saying? Why aren't these false gods or false idols called something else? They call gods too. They call false gods. You see what I'm saying? And then to go back to like what your overall topic is, Kevin. Like, okay, the Truman Show. Okay, everything's scripted. Everything. You see what I'm saying? Like his decisions are being made.
If you don't mind, can you pause? No, I don't want to cut you off because you might lose it. Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So if Jesus is the answer, if he's the savior, just like somebody was saying earlier, I'm not the savior, okay? But if I pull you out of a burning building, you wouldn't be thanking Jesus. You'd be like, man, thank you for saving me from that burning building, okay? But anyway, if this thing is a plan, right? Just stop it. Just cut it off. So if how many people has to be saved? How much time has to go by for the end to come? The end is never gonna come. Okay, because this thing is perpetuated to, even in the book itself, for it not to end. Okay, so it makes more sense to me if God knows who's going to be saved, who's not going to be saved. It doesn't matter at what point he ends time. Somebody's not going to be born. Somebody's not going to be saved, blah, blah, blah. So why don't you just stop it right now then? Why the games? Why do we have to go through the games? Why do we have to go through this entire thing just so you can come to a point to say, hey, I'm just gonna, stop this whole thing. This is, God created everything for his own pleasure. So this is just a game to you. We're just a movie for you to watch and observe all of these terrible things happen. And then also, just like I was talking to Kevin earlier off camera, I read a chapter in the Bible last night, and in this one chapter in Numbers, God helped his people kill some other people. Okay. He helped his people kill some other people. In the same chapter, he got upset with them for questioning why they were still eating manna. Okay, Kevin just talked about manna earlier. God couldn't give his people nothing else to eat. And then if you ate manna for 40 years, for 40 years, if you ate the same thing for 40 years, I think you'll be complaining too. I think you'll be asking for something else to eat too. And I made a video about that. Manna from heaven. God couldn't give his people nothing else to eat. Put them in a situation where they're going to complain and then get upset for them complaining. Okay, and then killed them in the same chapter. So he helped his people kill some people. And then he didn't even have, because he's merciful now. So Kevin, if your child complain to you, you just going to kill them?
Absolutely not.
That's what your God did. So for you to even want to worship a type of God that thinks this way, that you gotta ask yourself, are you sane?
Now,
like what's your
part.
thought process?
He killed them for complaining. Where did their soul go? Do you think this God, after slaughtering them in punishment for complaining, would now actually let them go to heaven? Now he's burning them in eternity also, just for complaining. Think about how cruel this guy is. But Gustavo says that God was the light. Notice sun and moon were created after plants. Now, I want you to really deal with the literature, Gustavo. God cannot be the light because the Bible says that darkness was everywhere, right? Darkness was everywhere. So if God is the light, then wouldn't light already be everywhere? The Bible says that God says, let there be light, and then said it was good, meaning that light was completely new to existence at that moment. So God couldn't have been light. In fact, the people that he created are called beings of light. Now that's funny. Lucifer is the light of the morning, or the son of the morning, and Jesus is called the bright and the morning star, right? But God himself is not in himself light. Now there's a part in the Bible that contradicts that, of course, but there are many contradictions. The Bible says the Lord your God is a sun and shield, but it uses the word S-U-N. So if you want to say that my God is light, then you have to believe also that your God is the sun, because that also makes more sense. If it's light, then it has to be the sun, right? So if your God is the sun in the sky, then it is light. but it's not conscious and it doesn't judge you. So now you have a different version of God. Your God is now the Son. See how that works? Because this is what the literature is telling you. The Lord your God is a son. What is that? He is a son? Why would he call himself that? Right? Why would he refer to himself as such? But again, when you look at a paradigm, let's just say right now, I'm going to create my own beings, right? Me and Ricky, we're going to team up and create our own beings, right? Now, we're not just going to create our own beings. We're going to create them in a way that Yahweh would, right? Or any of these other gods themselves would. Because they create their beings way lesser than themselves so they can appear greater by default, right? So we only look up to this magnified God because he created us and reduced us to so small that he is now that big as default. You understand? That's how it works. If God wanted you to be equal, he would have made you equal, but instead he made you having no power, which makes you reflect on him as having all power. Do you understand that? You're made to be weak so he can appear strong. This is what a bully does to someone. They make you feel weak, and in turn, you ain't never fought them before. You never even fought that person before, right? But you're scared of them because they're pushing their weight over on you, and they're making you feel weak, even though you've never actually tested their strength. And a lot of you will actually be in fear and allow this person to continue to manipulate and push you around, right? This is the Bible's God. Now, if myself and Ricky are going to take that same blueprint and create our own new creation, we're going to create a substance that we don't need, but they need. Yeah. How ridiculous is that? So if we created people right now, we'd create them to survive. If we're doing it right, we create them to survive off the elements that's already in this world. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't create new elements. Right. God himself isn't subjected to cancer, yet his creation is. So he'd have to create cancer in order to make you subjected to it. Right. God himself isn't created to he doesn't have to worry about death.
Yeah. I would create you not have to. I would create you so you wouldn't have to poop.
Absolutely.
That's what I would do if I was God. You wouldn't have to poop.
God doesn't have to eat, yet he creates you to need to eat. And because he creates you to need to eat, what else does he have to do? Make food. And now what do? Give thanks to God for giving you all your food. What if it's written backwards? What if we don't understand why the earth is providing us food? Maybe we don't understand why when we eat, it nourishes our body. And the lack of answers make us say there must be a God in the sky who designed this because we can't see we can't make it out. You notice this is called the God of the gaps. When you don't have the answer, it's God. But the more you study, you understand science. And here's the thing. My grandmother used to say that God is who makes it rain, right? So when it rained, you couldn't talk, right? So you was disrespecting God. But, there are other parts of the world that wasn't raining. Because it's just weather. You feel me? Cloud, so it's like God working right now in 42 cities in America.
My grandma used to say that too.
But he ain't working in the others. They're like, what you mean? Yeah. Grandma, are you sure this can't just be weather? But then we started to understand that water evaporates back into the clouds, and then of course it falls back down. This is what happens. Yep. Is there a God outside of you doing that? Now, if you go to the Bhagavad Gita, they have a God solely ascribed to raining. They have a God solely ascribed to making the plants grow because they felt like it would be better to give the thanks to a certain God or a symbol than just give thanks to one God for everything. It actually makes more sense because one person holding all this together don't make no sense. Right? Yeah. Now, of course, it would to a Christian because you want to believe that God holds the whole world in his hands, whatever that means. I didn't even know God had hands. Right. He's a spirit, but whatever. But he has a hand with fingers. Like, a hand? Why would he need a hand? He reaches out and grabs stuff? What you talking about? It's crazy. Yeah. And we even talk about the mighty hand of God, or you're in God's hands. Why would a God have hands? Why? It's a spirit. It's literally a spirit. Why would it need them, right?
Why would he have a backside?
Absolutely.
Look, this doesn't even make sense. Moses saw God's backside, but God is invisible. That don't even make, come on, man.
God sits down, so he needs a backside to sit. So if he sits, he must have knees that bend and a behind that sits on a chair. So God sits on a chair, so a God would need a chair. Is that because men need chairs? Please understand, we make chairs so we can sit down and be comfortable when we're tired. Furniture. A God who is everywhere at the same time, who is omniscient and all-powerful and never runs out of energy, would never need a chair nor a throne. Why would a God need a throne? Well, because humans classify themselves by the word I'm looking for is classes, right? kings, royalty, and then lower all the way down to civilians. And of course, you'll need a throne when the higher up you are, right? So if kings use that type of mentality, that type of thinking, then why wouldn't a God? It's the very same regions that angels carry around swords, right? Why would an angel carry around a man-made instrument? So now heaven has blacksmiths, right? I said before that this was a long time ago when, ironically, there were no guns or hand cannons. So this is why angels carried swords, right? Now it would probably be a disadvantage to carry a sword. Well, you may say it isn't because your bullets will go straight through them, but they can hold on to a sword. So now angels can actually hold on to tangible objects, making them actually not invisible. But we still never saw an angel, but they carry a sword, right? Is that sword also invisible? Because if it's invisible, how the heck can it cut me, right? And this is what I'm saying. We go to sleep at night thinking that there's a hedge of protection over us and our beds are surrounded with angels. And we're okay with that, even comforted by that. But if you hear about ghosts, you're afraid if you think of ghosts in your room. Yeah. Never once have you been blessed by any being coming into your room, and never once have you had a demon come into your room. But you still have this comfort, feeling that an angel's watching over you when you sleep, and you still have this fear that a demon or a devil or a spirit or ghost is going to come into your room. You're actually not logical, and that's not a judgment to try to make you feel bad. You're not thinking logical. You actually are believing in things that you literally have no proof of. And like I said before, you accept the reality in which you are presented, right? And we have to find a way to get out of this world. And I want to show you, just let me get that next picture up, because we're going to be closing out. But I want to finish this idea of this Truman Show. If God is in the sky with a plan, then your life is fake. Your life is not real. Your life is not your own. Your life is that God's, and you're subject to that God's plan. And that's the end of it. No ifs, ands, or buts. He has a plan for you, and you have no way outside of living up to that plan. And while he's doing it, I want you to think how we accepted this information. We can accept that God is good before we even know that God exists. How come God can't be bad? Well, because I was told he was good first, and then I was told he was all good. How come God can't not show up? Well, because I was told that he may not come when you need him, but he'd be there right on time. How come God can't let you down and not fulfill his promises? Well, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or a seed begging bread. You're just talking about literature. Again, I told a guy the other day, speaking of the word dog, let's define a dog without saying dog, okay? Watch this, guys. Long ears, wet nose, right? They wag their tail when they're happy to see their owner, right? They bark, right? Their bark often makes a noise. If you could spell it out, woof, woof, right? This is what we say when we're mimicking these animals, right? What animal are I referring to? Most people know I'm referring to a dog, right? Now watch this. Define God. Come on. Define him. What do he look like? Because I defined this dog by what it looked like. He has long ears, some of them, wet nose, right? They wag their tails. They bark. We know the sound of them as well, right? We know these animals exist in reality because you can see them, even if they're not named dog, right? Define God the same way. God is nothing but a spell. He's nothing but a hoax. You can't even describe this dude without words. He's only words. And it's funny that it says, in the beginning was the word, and the word is God. That ain't never lied. It is God. He ain't nothing but words. He doesn't exist in the realm of reality. Kevin is a word, but I'm a person. Yeah. Do you understand? So if I was to say define Kevin, and you wasn't talking about this Kevin, just a random, right now define Bob. You couldn't do it because you don't know what Bob we're talking about. Unless you know a certain Bob, that Bob might have popped into your head. But I don't know a Bob. Now, I do have a brother named Robert. When I call him Bob, he get mad. Because it's real funny to me to call him Bob, you know. But if I could describe him to you, you know. But define God. You cannot, right? Without words, there's no way to describe this character. Because he does not exist, family. This is what I'm telling you. This is why we still argue over if Jesus was white or black, had hair like sheep's wool, if he was Muslim or Indian looking or Middle Eastern looking. We make up land masses that was created way after this dude supposedly existed and say he was Middle Eastern. What the heck is Middle Eastern? What is that? When did that place get existed? Right? When did that place get agreed upon to be called that by man? Not 2,000 years ago, so it's impossible for him to be Middle Eastern, right?
Yeah, why is it so mysterious? Like this is my thing. Like people be like, you want to do this or you want to listen. People, if you read your Bible, which a lot of you have not, you know, you would understand that people saw things as proof. When you see somebody being raised from the dead, that's proof. When you see somebody walking on water, that's proof. When you see somebody getting healed and from being blind, from being crippled, snakes biting people, they not dying. These are things. This is proof. Okay, so they got proof. I want some proof. So this thing is so important to my life. It's so vital to my life, and God cares so much, and He wants me to make it to heaven. It's not in His will that any should perish. Show me some proof.
Here's your opportunity, guys, to escape. Truman, he had to face his fears. And it's funny that he had to get on water. I think that was representation for Age of the Aquarius, right? The man bearing the picture of water. He has to cross water now in order to see his reality. His fake reality come to an end. And so he gets on this water, and this guy does not want him to make it out. So he starts saying, tip the boat, blow the wind even harder. And this water storm comes, and dang near kills Truman. And people were saying, man, you're going to kill him on national TV. And the director says, well, he was born on national TV. Like, dang, you're willing to kill this innocent man who did not ask to be on this show just because you're mad that he's leaving, right? So he's going to try to stop Truman and discourage him. So he brings this storm that nearly kills Truman. And this is how it feels whenever you get information that's contrary to your paradigm. It does feel like you're drowning. It does. And Truman's going through symbolically everything that we thought, that we felt like we were going through, that honestly it was over, right? But then the water starts to calm, and he runs head first into this wall. His boat collapses into this wall. Now, when you see this movie, you're going to notice something. Truman walks all the way up to the edge of this boat and gets this close to the wall, and literally is this slow to putting his hand on it, because he don't want to feel that it's a wall right there. Like, this is supposed to be the sky. I'm supposed to be able to keep going. And then eventually he gets down off the boat and walks to the right and climbs these stairs. Now, of course, there's no pyramid there, but of course we know stairs are Masonic. He climbs up to the top of these stairs and he takes a bow, because the director tells him, hey, you are the star of a show that is being watched by billions across the planet. You are the inspiration, Truman, for people's lives. And Truman goes, was there anything real? And guess what he says to him? You were real, Truman. You were. And that's what made you so fun to watch. God, dog. You were real. And that's what made you so fun to watch. Listen, when you are real in this matrix, you become fun to watch. People all the time say, man, Kevin, Ricky, y'all real because we tell it like it is. You feel me? We're not trying to sedate y'all. We're trying to give you we're trying to rub that salt up under your nose, right? We're trying to make you snap out of it. Now, we're not trying to injure you, but here's what Truman did. He exemplified character the whole movie. Even when he was being done wrong, he was always a nice guy, and he was going to turn around and just leave and not say a word after the dude said, you were real. That's what made you so fun to watch. And he was so devastated that his whole life was on camera. There's a scene where Truman goes into his basement and goes into a safe where he finds all this, traveling stuff. Well, when he was a child, he stored maps and everything because he wanted to be a traveler in his safe place. And whenever he goes to unlock the safe, it zooms in to shows what his combination is. So please understand how much the world knew Truman. Not even numbers were safe with Truman. Everything about him was revealed to the entire world. Imagine how Truman felt knowing that his whole life was a lie. His wife was a lie. His best friend was a lie. Everybody was a lie. And here's the thing. That's what it's like for you. I'm not saying the people in your life are fake, as in they're not real to you, as in they don't love you and have your best interest in heart, but they're fake. They subscribe to things that are not fake, meaning their actions are going to be produced by what they believe in. So if you go to your real friend who really loves you, just like Truman's supposed real friend really loved him, and he says, I'm going to go away for a while, that friend knows by Truman going away, he's going to find out that he is a slave, that he is a slave to his own paradigm, that his world is not real. And what does that friend do? Introduce him back with his daddy, who supposedly died years ago, but they went back and got him. And now he says, Dad, where you been my whole life? And with one word, he's able to satisfy Truman's curiosity: amnesia. So it's just good enough. You went away my whole life, and all of a sudden now your memory comes back, and you just come in the heat of me wanting to be free. But Truman didn't think about that. He hugged his daddy and just said, Dad, and it settled him for a while, right? But Truman could not take it, and eventually he had to break out. What I'm telling you is eventually you're going to have to break out if you want to truly, truly be free. And what's going to happen is that woman that Truman was thinking of was also thinking of him. And guess what she was doing? Waiting on the other side for him. That's what we're doing whenever you walk in. We're waiting on the other side for you to love you like it ain't nobody's business. Because this isn't meant to offend. It's meant to enlighten you and get you to wake up. Look at your surroundings and see what you've accepted based on mere faith. Meaning you didn't care to investigate the truth that you believe in. You did not care to investigate it, and therefore you accepted it as truth. It doesn't make it true. Truth is what you can prove. You understand? So when someone says, prove to me, someone says, can you prove that God is a spell? Absolutely. By writing it down. Right? You don't have God unless you write it down or hear about it. Name me one person, name me one, right now in this world, name me one deaf person who was born deaf, who actually, and blind, who came up with the word God out of nowhere. Give me one person right now who came up with the word God out of nowhere who was deaf and blind. I guarantee you it's never happened. Because unless you've heard the word God or saw the word God, that word don't exist. You know why? Because words don't exist. You understand that? God is just a spell because not even all words are spells. They don't exist. There's no such thing as a what that lives in reality. I use what to speak to someone who understands the language I speak. In fact, if I use the word what to a person who doesn't speak English, it's just a freaking sound, just as ambiguous as wolf. You understand that? If I walk up to a person and say woof woof and they don't speak English, they wouldn't even know I was mimicking a dog. They would think I'm saying something in my language that means something. And they say, I'm sorry, I don't speak that. I'm sorry, I don't understand English. They would, in their best way, tell you they don't understand you. So understand that words are just tools that we use to navigate our reality. So when I'm speaking to Ricky and I ask him a question, and I start that question off with a word like what, Ricky has been trained to know that what means I'm about to ask him a question. Why, where, when means I'm about to propose a question to him. He already knows that. So as soon as I say when, he's already listening because he knows a question's coming. He has to already be trained to know that language before I can say it. Do you understand that? I had a guy try to argue with me the other day. Didn't God exist before words? How can he? When man existed before words. What are you talking about? Man, you guys do know that words didn't exist before. Like men wasn't born talking. We made up words and learned how to talk and communicate with each other. Do you understand that? So, so someone said duck. Let's play with that. Duck. We call a beaked animal, okay, that mostly lives in ponds, of course, a duck, right? But it doesn't make that animal a duck. We call it a duck simply because that's the name we gave it. And it's probably because it ducks its head in the water to get water out. Who knows why we call it a duck? But we call it that for the simple fact that we call it that. A duck doesn't walk around saying, I'm a duck. You understand that, right? Other animals in nature would never look at that animal and say, that's a duck, right? They wouldn't do that at all. These are things that we do. And we did the same thing with God, unfortunately. We did the same thing with Jesus, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we did. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to accept. But again, like the man said in the movie, we accept the reality in which we were given. That was a reality that was given to us, and we accepted it. How can you not? Are you born in a world where your parent takes you to a church with a big cross on it, where preachers stand up in front of you in robes with crosses on sashes that go down each side of their chest? You understand? You look to the left and the right, and you see your loved ones, the people who are actually the same age as you, your mother, your aunts and uncles. Okay. Oh, that's fine. Give me 1 second. When you look to your left and your right, you see all these people contributing to this beliefs. What are you going to believe in? You don't have a choice. This is the reality that you're given. When you drive down the road, you see Jesus billboards all down you can't live in this matrix without knowing who Jesus is. And some of y'all think y'all found Jesus. I found Jesus when I was 23. I was down and out, didn't know where to. Why didn't you find Krishna? Because there was no billboards. I was driving down the road and it says Jesus saves, and it made me want to rethink my life. Why? Why didn't it say Krishna saves? Because you were in the demographic of Jesus. Do you understand? Did y'all know that the way Christians wake up in America and say, or people who live in America wake up and say, I experienced, or I dreamt about hell, I dreamt about Jesus. I dreamt about God or heaven. Do you know that no person in India ever woke up dreaming about Jesus or hell or Satan's hell? Guess what they dream about? Krishna's hell and Krishna. You know, no Muslim in the history of the world ever woke up saying they saw heaven or Jesus that haven't heard of heaven or Jesus. Did you know that? Did you know that nowhere in these third world countries will people starve daily? No God speaks to them in their head. Do you know that? No God tells them, listen, I want to save your soul, and if you give your life to me, no, because your God is limited to that book, and you missionaries that take the book to people. Because and you know that, it makes me mad to think about it. You know that. That's why you go to other places teaching, because you know they wouldn't know if you didn't take the crap to them. Yeah. So you know your God is not real. Right. Your God subjects you to do all the daggum footwork. Do you see how crazy that your God is not real? If your God was real, you wouldn't have to peddle the information. Do you understand what I'm saying? Bruce Leroy went looking for some dumb boy who was supposed to be his trainer. But he already had a trainer. So we went on a mission to find some dumb boy. Some dumb boy was nowhere to be found. Guess what he found out? That he was him. Yeah. Do you understand that? So you're going through your whole life looking to your left and your right, seeing your parents jump up and shout. And guess why they're doing it? Dopamine in their brain. Them. They're giving themselves these feelings saying, God touched me. You touched you. Your brain has a chemical compound that will blow your mind. And I mean that literally. You'll be sitting there thinking something from outside of you touched you. We do this now. We say, oh, I got chills, right? I got chills when that happened. You know, up under every single one of your hairs is a small muscle. These muscles contract your actual hairs on your hand, on your arms and stuff to stand up whenever you feel cold. Now, here's the one thing we don't understand. Why it happens when something sounds good to you. This is something that, you can look this up now. Scientists still don't know why this happens. Why is it that you can get excited when that dopamine explosion, and that dopamine hits in your brain, that your muscles contract under your skin, causing your hairs to stand on end? You know what I mean? When I came on the Jamal show that day, I said, "Watts up," and he immediately knew what that meant. WATTS, mean watts, like put your antennas up. Energy, right? We know that when you put your hand like on one of those electric balls, it also makes your hair stand on end, right? Because it's energy. Right. So we know that when you hear something powerful, it does exude from you. This has been a proven fact. You know what I mean? Yeah. Guys, whenever you get angry, your body heats up, right? This is due to just a change in your freaking mind. Now, when you're sick, your body heats up, but this isn't you. Your body's doing these things to heat up your body and possibly kill off the disease or virus or whatever is attacking your immune system, right? But when you get angry, why does your body heat up? Just a simple thought in your mind, your body begins to change its physical anatomy or its physical body temperature only because you're heated, right? Isn't that funny they call it heated? It's like they knew that your body heats up when you're mad, right? Oh, I'm 38 hot, right? You got me hot. Why does they say that? It's like we know these things, you feel me? Right. Your body is absolutely powerful. It is responsible for the feelings that you're feeling. Do you think that God who make your body hot when you're mad, the same way you think that God is who give you chill bumps when you hear something good? Wake up. It's your body. It's not some person outside of you going voila.
Why do you have to defend God anyway? Like, isn't he powerful enough to defend himself? Like, why you got to defend his word or teach his word or preach his word? Like, he should just be able, just like Kevin said, you go to a place where they never heard of God, you have to take the word to them because you know they haven't had any contact with people. So how do you know they haven't heard the word already? You have this preconceived notion that they haven't heard it because they haven't came into contact with any people. But if God did exist, wouldn't they have come in contact with God? So, Gustavo, you shouldn't have to defend your God. You have to really look at yourself and ask yourself why you would trust and believe in a God that has horrible judgment. Just like we were saying earlier, you wouldn't kill anyone for just complaining. So that doesn't make sense. And there's so many other things that absolutely just does not make sense.
Absolutely. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah. Come here. All right, family. So let me just read a few of your comments while I had to show Ricky to the bathroom or whatever. So, so someone said, so when and where do we come from? Listen, we're still trying to discover a lot of that. Now, you can go to a lot of people different than me and probably get a different answer. Maybe they will try to attempt to tell you where we come from. I simply, again, I don't deal with beliefs. I choose to live my life as an explorer. I will tell you, not knowing where we come from doesn't mean that you should subscribe to the idea of a virgin having a baby. I always like to throw that out there. Because we don't know where we come from doesn't mean that you have to believe that a virgin had a baby. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to accept someone else's belief system because you don't have that answer. And I know it's uncomfortable to not have that answer, being that you thought you did have it for so long. You know, you thought that, you know, God created you from dust and breathed a breath into you and called his name Adam, and now there's a reason that you are born sinner. And, you know, you thought you had the answers to the universe. You did. And we all did. I did once too. You know, that's one of the things that goes along with your belief system. Notice that they're all built to quench your curiosity so you don't ask questions. This is a question that really all of us ask. Dang, where did we come from? How did we get here? Where do we go when we die? All these are questions that are natural questions, right? But they plague us so badly that they cause us to now identify and accept religion. Why? Mainly because religion seems to answer those questions. But the problem is answering those questions, it quenches your curiosity. And yet now your curiosity has been quenched without proof. So where did we come from? Well, a God created it. Well, okay, great. Good enough for me. Now I know where we came from. See what I'm saying? How did we get here? A God. Where do we go when we die? God, right? And that now becomes the answer. And again, of course, Gustavo, Kevin, you're an apostate, right? Now, you're quoting your literature. So yeah, from the paradigm and the matrix that you accepted, the reality you accepted, I'm called a prostate. An apostate? I said a prostate. Do you not realize that you are reading from the book that has no basis in reality and has no facts to prove that any person that wrote it or contributed to it even existed? Do you understand? And this is the book that you're quoting from to call me an apostate for not believing in the literature that's in the book that can't be proven. So it's like if I say, if the book Harry Potter said that you were an apostate if you didn't believe that Harry Potter truly exists, or if you were once a fan of Harry Potter and now became a fan of Voldemort, then now you're an apostate. So I would call you that, but I'm reading this to you from my book. My book has no value in reality at all. So I'm just saying stuff to you, right? It doesn't hold any weight. This is what I'm saying. So we have to grow out of that, guys. Yeah, it's funny that David, I said prostate. I made a joke a while back that if you're not, whenever you lay down on the ground, God wants you to lay prostrate. But it's crazy because your prostate is what's pointed up. And I actually had that in the song. I said you got to lay prostrate, lay prostate, because God screws us all. You know what I mean? And not in the literal term that there's a real God that screws us all, but if you believe in this God who lives in the sky, who watches people die, but then chooses to bless other people for running around a church 20 times, then you're a crazy person. And I'm not saying crazy in an offensive way. Look up the word. Your brain's not working right. You need to get it together. Because if you believe that a God is all love, but would let people die who beg for help and beg for food, but then would bless someone with a raise because they screamed loud, do you really truly believe that? Because that's what's happening. In your paradigm, see, the problem with Truman is he didn't see the whole world. Truman only saw the world that he was presented. You accept the reality that you are presented. So we grew up in church, and we didn't know about these third world countries that were starving every day. We didn't think about them, at least. So when we were thanking God for putting food on our table, we weren't thinking about all the children who were dying for not having it on theirs. So if God is real to you because he put food on your table, then why didn't he put it on theirs? And don't they have just as much a right to say he's not real because they did not have that, right? Now, Gustavo, good. He says, you don't care that other historians confirm everything recorded in the New Testament? Do you care that other historians confirm everything that happened in the Bhagavad Gita, which is Krishna's Bible? Do you care about that? Please answer the question. Gustavo, do you care that Muslims also have... Okay, my bad.
No, I was going to keep going.
Do you care that Muslims also have historians who verify the Quran? Do you think that because someone has what they call a historian or a scholar, that now what they say is now true 100%? There are also scholars who were Christian who are just like me now. There's a guy named Bible Flock who tried to make a video to discourage what I was saying that this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. This preacher left the church when he didn't study well, and that's why he's not in religion anymore. And he gives all of his credit to the things he's finding to a man named Bart Ehrman. Yeah. Now, what's funny is you can just look up Bart Ehrman, and he stands in the same position I stand in now, and he was a theologian. He was a scholar, right? So there are scholars who say that Jesus didn't exist, right, and that everything in the Old Testament is fake. Do you care about what they say? This is what I'm saying. That's bias. I only believe the historians that say what I want to hear. I don't believe Krishna's historians, the Bhagavad Gita historians, and they really do exist. They went to school, y'all. You know that, right? They really went to school to get approved to study God, just like Christians did over here, right? And they will argue with other historians telling them they're wrong. Or you will have a historian, just like now Hinduism also has historians who tell you that Krishna isn't real, and there's no actual facts for him in the history of existence at all either. But you can't say because a historian says something that makes it irrefutable. You understand what I'm saying?
That actually goes against your Bible anyway, Gustavo, because it says proven by the scriptures that Jesus is Christ. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. Of course, you can't please God without faith. Okay, so just like my brother's saying, like there's so many. So you believe the historians that confirm that Jesus existed or that he's real, but this is the thing. So if historians have to confirm it, like what good is the Bible then? You see what I'm saying? If the Bible's not good enough, why do we have to rely on like these things that are not even, it's just someone's opinion? You see what I'm saying? Like a historian's opinion, not just this. You gotta have salvation, right? You need salvation. You gotta believe in Jesus. But God cares about you so much.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I gotta read this.
No, go ahead.
So it says, Psalms 14:1 says, "The fool says in his heart that there is no God." And Vanessa Dixon so wonderfully responded, "Corey, hearts don't talk." Again, this is how ambiguous the Bible is. A God would know that one doesn't talk with his heart, right? So it's even saying only a fool says to himself. This is a mind control tactic. Think about what it's saying. When you say you said it in your heart, this just means you said it in your head, thought it to yourself. Mm-hmm. That's all it really means. Right. So only a fool says in his heart, in his mind, in his most secret place that there is no God. Mm-hmm. This is to challenge you and also control how you think. You understand? And because a book said that, it doesn't make it true.
Look, check this out, though, okay? Along with that point, if you're going off of that where it says a fool says in his heart that there's no God, the Bible also says that your heart is deceitful is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So it says man shouldn't even trust his own heart. So if you say in your heart that there's no God, that doesn't even mean anything because you shouldn't trust it anyway. But then it also says that from your heart comes all evil things.
So if you say God does exist and you're saying that from your heart, it probably means don't believe in it because your heart is over all things desperately wicked.
Why?
So the fact that you need a God to exist may be that you're wicked. It may mean that you're deep down wicked, according to the literature itself.
Yep. And you're gonna accept Jesus into your heart, where the Bible says that's where all your wickedness comes from your heart. But you accept Jesus into your heart. Come on, man.
Absolutely. So someone says actually evidence of a high probability that George Washington existed. Well, yeah. But George Washington has characteristics that we know didn't have. So that George Washington that was given those characteristics didn't exist. George Washington was said to never tell a lie. Now, we know George Washington in the realm of reality existed. But we know George Washington who never told a lie didn't exist. So it's safe to say that George Washington didn't exist. Someone said to you, well, do you believe in Jesus or not? No, I don't. Do you believe that there was someone named Jesus? There are plenty of people named Jesus today. Do any of them walk on water? Right. And if none of them walked on water in the history, regardless of which one you saying exists, Jesus still didn't exist. Because the Jesus you talking about supposedly walked on water, raised Lazarus from the dead. The Jesus that other people are saying existed did none of those things. So that ain't that Jesus. You understand? Jesus, as you've been taught that he existed, he never existed. It's that simple. If somebody said, if I die and someone says, Kevin could walk on water, that man could, trust me, that man could float in midair and stay up there for 5 minutes before he hit the ground. The fact that I actually existed doesn't mean I did those things. So if people started believing that I did those things, it would be safe for Rick to say, I knew Kevin and walked beside him. But that Kevin never existed. Right. Kevin never even tried to hover in the air. That stuff is made up. See what I'm saying? That's how it works. And coming from the outside of the paradigm, you're going to believe the lie, a well-dressed lie. I'll end it with this. A lie and the truth went for a swim, right? The truth says to the lie, let's see how far you can swim out, right? So the truth swims out. He says, go farther, man, you can do it. He says, you sure? Yeah. Truth went out farther. The lie says, man, go even farther. Before you know it, the truth is way out in the middle of the lake, right? Way out in the middle. And he says, see how long you can hold your breath in the water, right? So the truth says, okay, bet. He goes down to hold his breath underwater in the farthest end of this now lake. And when he does this, the lie takes the truth clothes and runs with him, right? He puts his clothes on. He starts running through town telling everyone that he is the truth. He's the truth. And they believe him because he has clothes on with a name badge that says truth. You understand? You understand? So now truth has to swim his way over to the edge of the what's her name. And guess whose clothes are left there for him? A lie. Wow. So now he has to put this man's, because he can't run down the streets naked, right? Right? But we do love the naked truth. But he's not going to do that because that'll kill you, right? You can't handle that. You can't handle the truth. So obviously, now he has to come to you dressed in someone else's clothes. Now he's standing here in front of you saying, I'm the truth. I'm the real truth, but lies written on him. Are you going to be confused by words, or are you going to look deeper, right? When the truth is saying when the lie is saying I'm the truth, and you believe it because the truth is written on him, are you going to fall for the words on the surface or look a little deeper? This is what we're doing. We're falling for the words on the surface in the Bible, right? The Bible says God is good. And we don't do any real in-depth research to that. If I say I am the truth, then you have to look deeper to see if I'm not the lie. If you look deep in the Bible to see if God is truly good, will he still be good? Let's talk about it. Let's start from the beginning. He was good when he created the elements that we need to survive. Because it says God is good all the time. So far, so good, right? Now, he was good when he created man. It was even better when he saw that man should not live alone. Wow. He created man, wife, right? Gave him a partner so he wouldn't be lonely. That's good. Then he gave them a garden to live in, right? That's good. But then he put a tree in that garden. He made that tree be desirable. He put it within reach of the people that he created with good in his heart. He tells these people, don't eat from that tree. If you tell your child, don't go in that closet, what is it going to make them do? Because we all know curiosity killed the cat, right? It's funny that cat is opposite from dog. And that's, curiosity killed the cat, But now, when they eat of this fruit, let's see how good God can be, how long he can be good. When they eat of this fruit, what does God do? Now, the Bible tells us to forgive 70 times 7 a day. It doesn't tell us to ask for a sacrifice in order to forgive someone, right? So God's standard for us to be good is to just forgive. But could God do that? Could God himself do the very thing that he judges you for not doing? No, he could not just forgive them. In fact, something had to die. Now, something had to die because they made a mistake. Also, something had to die because they were naked. They were nude, right? Now, watch this. God has all power. We know now that fabrics can be made from plants. We know that, right? Many plants can make fabrics. But how did God make clothes for Adam and Eve? He killed an innocent sheep. Now, we know that this is esoteric, and it's just showing you that God is Aries, and he kills a sheep. A little bit later, he's going to kill a bunch of rams and paint it over the blood, over the door of the Israelites. Then he's going to walk a sheep up a mountain to save and trap him in the bush, just so the son of Abraham doesn't get murdered, of course. And then Jesus is going to be born as a Lamb of God, God is the ram of God. Satan is a goat. We get the sheep references. We get all of that. But why did God kill a sheep? Because God is supposed to be all good. So he would kill an innocent sheep to clothe a naked man when really we have plants that can make fabrics. So is God good? God then takes and says man has to die and woman has to have periods, right? And men have to work in order to bring up their food. These are the rules from God. And then he also has to later on give his son to die to redeem man. But who made that rule? You believe your God has the power to the world, and you also believe your God has a plan. What is more true? That he has a plan. I would venture to say when he brought Adam and Eve in that, now guys work with me, this didn't happen. I'm being hypothetical. When he brought Adam and Eve into that garden, he had a plan. And what was his plan? Sin. Because God's plan always comes to fruition, right? He knew that serpent was going to come into the garden. He knew that serpent was more cunning than any other beast. He knew that serpent would be convincing to Adam and Eve. Well, Kevin, how do you know that? Because he made Adam and Eve to be deceived by that serpent. If he didn't create them to be deceived by that serpent, they wouldn't have been deceived by that serpent. Please understand this. God made Adam and Eve knowing they would be deceived by that serpent. This means he made them so they could be deceived by this serpent. You understand? He made them with the flaw of intelligence so they could be deceived by this so-called serpent. You understand? And when they eat from this tree and become knowledgeable, God is now offended. So now this God doesn't want you to have knowledge. You understand? Now we know that this is representation of the serpent and Kundalini energy giving you knowledge. But if you believe the Bible is real, then you have to understand your God ain't good all the time. In fact, the Bible says that God created evil, calamity, and all these things. So if we understand that a God created everything in existence, but then would yet argue that he didn't create evil, you really have to question your logic. How can he create everything but not evil? Everything but not evil. Everything is everything. But he created everything but not evil. Do you see how crazy you sound? Nothing that could be created was created without God. No thing that could be created was created without God. And yet you'd argue that God didn't create something.
Mic drop.
It's crazy. That it's like we so deep in an illusion that we can't just look at it straight. And when we talk like this, they actually think that we're being offensive to God. He doesn't exist, family. If we was talking about Wolverine and his bad attitude that he presents towards his team, we're not disrespecting Wolverine. We're saying, hey, Wolverine obviously has a chip on his shoulder. Now, he's been through a lot, right? Someone took him and exposed his body to different type of pains, putting adamantium in his body. He's been through a lot. He probably doesn't trust a whole lot of people. But dadgummit, man, Xavier let you move in his house. He gave you a room in his mansion. He's looked out for you. He rescued you from freaking Sabretooth. And you still coming into the building acting like an a-hole and don't want to work with anybody. But I'm actually not talking junk about Wolverine. He never existed. You see what I'm saying? So when we talk about the Bible's God, we're not disgracing God as this God is a man-made word. And that's what I'm saying. You guys contribute to the very matrix we live in, and y'all need to snap out of it because y'all are the person that's holding us back. Y'all don't realize that. Ray Hagins called them gatekeepers. The gatekeepers to heaven's gates are these big armored warriors who protect you from getting outside of Rome or this romantic thinking of religion, right? He called them gatekeepers. Every person that plays a role in keeping people from waking up is a gatekeeper. You're a gatekeeper for a lie. We need to stop doing that. You're a gatekeeper for a lie.
A lie.
God is a lie.
A lie. Man, you and this wordplay, man.
Listen, man. You don't understand, bro. I thought I had my head straight, but it was totally a lie. L-Y-E. Because lie makes your head straight. You feel me?
Oh, yeah.
I thought I had my head straight, but it was totally a lie. But Muslims say nah, like it was totally a lie. Woo! It's like shooting dice. I gotta get the crap out before I die. It's like shooting dice. I gotta get the crap out before I die. Crap out, shooting dice, die. Bars.
He said bars.
But see, listen.
Man.
Here's the thing:
Yeah.
the bars that I give is to set you free, not bind you up.
Yeah,
so
there you
you're
go.
right. God is a lie.
You confirmed it. You like God
It's
is a lie.
confirmed. God is a lie. So when somebody say, what does Allah mean? Don't say arm, leg, arm, head. No, say Allah. A space L-I-E.
Yeah.
God is Allah. You understand? And that is a fact.
Kill
He's Allah, right?
Kill
And all day long, so you can say Kevin just became Muslim. Because I refer to God as Allah. And that is an absolute fact, y'all.
Oh,
that's it.
That's crazy, man. You gotta end it right there.
That's, I just, huh?
You gotta kill it right there.
Yeah, I had to, that was so bars. I gotta let y'all go on that one, man.
Yeah.
And listen, don't take my bars, y'all. Listen, y'all. I see y'all. You understand? I see y'all becoming me, like so slowly but surely, trying to take my bars. You know what I'm saying? But I want y'all to understand, man. I see the Chris in you. I Peter Griffined you. I can see the Chris in you. I Peter Griffined you, huh? Didn't think that I noticed. I sun dudes in the stewie when I'm at my lowest. Oh my God. Did you hear that? I can look at you and see the Chris in you. I Peter Griffined you, right? That's his daddy. I fathered you. Didn't think that I noticed. I son rappers in the stewie when I'm at my lowest. Oh my God, stewie, lowest. Oh my God, I'm born to death. Don't take my balls, because I will put out a diss track and ruin you. You think I destroy religion? I will destroy you. Don't take my bars, because they gonna be in my next song. All right, no biting, absolutely.
Vanessa got it. Yo.
No biting, man. Yeah. But listen, family, I'm gonna let Ricky do some closing out. And Ricky always like, man, nah, it's all good.
It's good, family. Man. We didn't had said everything that needs to be said. You know what I always say: the only gods that we need is each other. If you're God, like, just become God. Stop looking for God. Let's treat each other as gods. Let's become God. Be God. And you don't have to look and look for one. Worship yourself.
Absolutely. And like, guys, listen, like in this song that I'm working on, where I say Muslims say, nah, it was totally a lie. It's like shooting dice. I got to get the crap out before I die, right? There is a line in that song where I say, life deals bad hands, and it gave me arthritis. But with that bad hand, just watch this author write this, right? I can control my own life, right? I said I took my destiny in my own hands. I don't follow the guidelines. Not G-U-I-D-E. I don't follow the guidelines. I make my own plans. And then I say, I realize that there is no God higher than self. So that means I hold my own world in my own hands. And it is I who I reverence. Gift of rap. If I bow up, then they will bow down in my presence. Now that rest was just some super bars, and y'all just gonna have to go back and listen to them. But listen, I realize that there is no God higher than self. So that means I hold my own world in my own hands. Think about what I just said. There is no God higher than self. So that means you hold your own world in your own hands. You hold your world in your hands. Not he holds the world in his hands. You have control over your world and the outcome of your future. 99% of the things that happen to you are because you allow them. Do you not understand that? You allow them. You allow them to happen. Hang on, let me say something. I'm gonna make a point real quick. Jared Cannonier. Now that's a prize fighter. If you don't know who he is, a real MMA fighter, famous fighter. He really exists in real life as a brawler. You understand? Watch some of his fights. He is a beast. Now I'm gonna say something that I feel like he can relate with. Right? I used to box, Jared. Back when I was younger, from like age say 12, 13, all the way up to maybe like 19. I used to get in the ring. I used to box. I used to love to do it or whatever. And what I found, Jared, was that it was up to you. You had to control your outcome. When you get in that ring, this ain't football. You can't expect that other linebacker to show up and cover that hole. And sometimes you expect them to, and they're just not what it's supposed to be. But what I loved about boxing was that it was just me in that ring and that man. My own energy, my own strength in that man. Jared is a beast, absolutely. Now, Jared, if you don't mind, bro, let them know what it takes to be a fighter. That it's not the ring that solidifies you as a fighter. It's all that training. You having to get strong. You having to get your breath right, your breathing. Now, here's the thing. Most people, when they say they want to be a boxer or an MMA fighter, the first thing they do is start going and hitting the bag. Right, Jared? They get in the ring, start hitting the speed bag, hitting the heavy bag. I want to be a boxer, right? You ain't even got the wind to be a boxer. Most of your training has nothing to do with hitting the bag, right? Most of it is conditioning that conditions your body and your mind to be able to see the punches that's coming at you, right? And actually understanding the human body and how to take a person down, understanding how to do techniques. You have to be really intelligent. It's not just, I want to be a fighter. Right. There's a real training that goes to it,
Discipline.
Right? but you are in control. He said, yep. So obviously this is a person who has a license to do this, who y'all see on TV fighting, agreeing with me. I'm not making this stuff up. It's between you and that man. If you bring it to the table, your coach can yell at you and say, man, keep your hands up. You know, take him down. Right, get that right back to your hand, to your face fast enough. Keep it up. They making shout out little tips, but it's up to you to respond. You have to lift your hand up, right? That's what life really is like, y'all. You still waiting on your coach to hop in the ring and fight for you. Yeah. He don't exist. You understand what I'm saying? You still waiting on somebody to come in and win for you when the winning is in you. Now, you might not win a fight today, but Jared can tell you, he fights a whole lot better today than he did the first time he picked up some daggum gloves. So it takes time to train, guys. Day one, you're not going to be a mental beast able to see through all the lies. But the more you train your brain, the better fighter you will be. You get better as you go. Man, I remember when I first started boxing, man, I promise you, man, see, 100% facts. Man, I remember first started boxing, my trainer was in the ring, Jared, and he was tearing me up. And I was like, man, how come I can't hit you? And he said something that really broke my heart. He said, don't worry about it. You can't hit me. Because he'd been doing this for years. You understand what I'm saying? And eventually he said, dude, you trying to hit me because you're focused too much on me. See, you focus too much on the Bible so you can't see around it. Right. Zoom out of that crap and focus around it, which is reality. When I tried that with my trainer, I could actually see him without necessarily zoning in on him. And then I was able to lay a punch. You see what I'm saying? And it's crazy because it's like, if you want to be a champion, you don't fight your fight today thinking about the championship round. This ain't even a championship round. You got to think about the person that's in front of you, the object that's in front of you. Win that one, and then, because like here's the thing, most people who I've talked about this before, and I spoke about Antonio Tarver saying that he could beat Roy Jones, and nobody believed it was true. And then what happened? He ended up beating Roy Jones. Right? He said it, and he did it years after he said he would. And in fact, he lost to Roy Jones before he beat him. Now, why is this? Why am I saying this or whatever? Well, when you take a person who says, I can beat Roy Jones, he believes in himself, right? At the moment he said that, he probably couldn't have beat Roy Jones, but he got better over the years. Understand this. To the point to where he exceeded a person that he even looked up to. The whole reason he said, I can beat that guy, is because he was looking at his skill set and thought it was amazing. If you've seen Roy Jones in his prime, I always say if you've seen him in his prime, you will know what I mean. You understand? So I was going to read a comment, but it's down at the store, so I just look over him. Love you, Donovan. But I just know that it's not worth my time.
Well, boxing is very motivating, though. It teaches you, like you said, the discipline and the training. Just looking at what's in front of you, but also that this life is a fight. Okay?
Absolutely,
it's you can get in that ring and you can get knocked down, but are you willing to get back up? Now that's coming from the motivational speaker, because I got a lot of motivational stuff for you. But yeah, boxing is 12 rounds or 8 rounds or however many rounds you're going. But if you get knocked down, this life is gonna put you on your hiney sometimes, and you just gotta be willing to get back up. You ain't gonna knock me out, but if you do, are you willing to fight? And that's the whole thing. It's just like I was talking about a couple weeks ago, the tortoise and the hare. I may be slower, but I'll race you anyway. You may be bigger than me, but I'll fight you anyway. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you just gotta fight, and boxing can teach you that, and you can translate that or transition that right into your life. You get knocked down, you gotta train, you gotta prepare. Okay, preparation. Just because you bigger than me, you gonna beat this person in front of you. And if you get knocked down, just get back up.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, guys. So what do you mean, Kevin, by saying you get stronger? I used to work out too, and I tell you, like when I first went to the gym and started benching, trying to bench 225, I couldn't get it to budge. And I used to try it like every other day, man. But I try to do flies and individual dumbbell presses to try to do everything to get my chest big, and it still wouldn't work. And finally, someone said, "Man, well, doing bench isn't just chest. You actually have to have your back to be stronger as well. So when you benching, from here to here is only chest. To actually bring it all the way up actually requires your back and actually lats.
Triceps too.
Right, and triceps as well. So you actually requires more muscle groups to do this. Now, in this knowledge, I said, okay, I'm going to start doing more lat pulls, right? more tricep presses and things that work my back muscles, my tricep muscles, so I can be strong enough. Now, eventually, I got 225. When I got it the one time, I felt like I had conquered the world. Now, fast forward this 3 or 4 years later, I was benching 225 36 times. I was weighing 225 and could literally bench 225 36 times like I was an NFL combine. And here's what I used to say, man, it got light, but it didn't. Yeah. I got stronger. Mm-hmm. See, I would be under an illusion if I lay under 225 and be like, man, it's light now. It ain't nowhere near heavy as it used to be. That's a lie. It's every bit as heavy as it used to be. Mm-hmm. You're just stronger. Right. That's what life is like, guys. You will be able to move crap that you used to didn't be able to move. And you will be thinking, man, this crap used to be heavy back in it. It didn't used to be heavy. It still is. You're just stronger. This is why you have to focus on you, and everything else will take care of itself. If you go to the gym and you work out, will the strength not come? But if you don't go to the gym and work out, is it going to come? When I say you're in control, that means you have to take the first step to make these things happen. I don't mean you're in control, meaning you can just think something and manifest it into existence. You still have to act on it, family. So if you believe on some savior to come out of the sky or from anywhere other than yourself to help you, you are under an illusion. Even if you're believing that it's the man next to you, you should always believe in yourself. And if they come to your rescue, great, fantastic. But be the change that you want to see. When I walked in and looked at that weight, I didn't like the strength that I was. I wanted to be those guys who were benching that strong weight. What I perceived as strong at that time was 225. And I became that change that I wanted to see. I made my body stronger, right? I was proud of myself because I am the one that did the work. Guess what? Not one single day did Ricky go to the gym and work out for me because I didn't feel like it. Nobody ever did. In fact, the only benefit I got to working out was what I did. No, nothing he could ever eat would make me lean up. Nothing he could ever eat would make me fat. My life is my own, family. Now, what happens is this. You get roads down your life and you start blaming other people for your life. Right? Because you didn't realize that your life was your own. You say this person made you do that. This person taught you into doing that because you was giving them your power. I did it with my preacher. If Jamie's on, she will tell you, me and her got married at a young age, right? We got married at a young age because we had a child and we was like, the best way to take care of our child is to get married. Her mother was crazy, right? Forgive me, Jamie, but your mama was crazy at the time. You know that. She's still religious, but she would not let me be with my child like I wanted to. All of this sped up the process of me trying to make a life decision, which I shouldn't have been doing. Neither one of us should have been doing it. But we went to each other. We had a conversation. Wasn't even getting married on love, y'all. We was just like, we're going to get married because it's the right thing to do. We're going to raise our children. She said, I love my children. I want to give them the world. I said, I love my children. I'm going to give them the world. I looked at her. I said, just don't cheat on me. I know I ain't the most attractive man in the world. And there's other pretty women in the world. And I promise I won't cheat on you. This was our covenant, y'all. This wasn't even no real like marriage like that. But we understood that we both wanted to be there for our child. Now, Jamie can also tell you this. Months into this marriage, or about a year or so in, she could tell you I didn't want to take the papers to the courthouse, so I tried to hide them because I was scared. That wasn't something I really wanted to do. I was trying to do something to protect my daughter or be in my daughter's life, right? In the way that I felt like I should be in my daughter's life, outside of what her mother at the time was allowing us. This is how people shape your reality, guys. At a time, I was willing to say in front of Jamie, I don't like this. I'm not happy. I'm miserable. And Jamie can tell you straight up, my pastor said, Kevin, it don't matter if you happy. You promised that woman you was going to love her till death do you part, so y'all going to have to stay together. Jamie can tell you, this dude looked me right in my face and told me that it didn't matter if I was happy or not. And guess what I did? I stayed and tried to make it work. He literally controlled my life by using a God that I know I couldn't even talk to. Now, me and Jamie both look back at this time and be like, dang, you're right. Our lives was really controlled. And we're the best of friends. Don't get me wrong. Jamie always said, I hope people don't look down on me when you tell these stories. Like, I hope they understand that Jamie was a teenager when this happens. And if y'all doing it, that's not cool. You know what I mean? Jamie could tell you stories about me that make you shake your head as well. You understand? These are just all of our developments growing up. You feel me? And so when you look at these type of things, man, you're like, wow, how can you let one person control your whole life? He didn't just control me to give him my tithe money. He controlled me to stay with somebody who at the time I wasn't even happy with. We were both miserable. She miserable because I'm miserable. Ain't nobody happy in the whole house. And yet we still in a marriage trying to have a healthy marriage because some man said, God don't care if you love her or not. All he cared about is if you made a promise to her. And then he told me that love isn't a feeling, it's an action. And if you treat her, he told me that by faith, if I treat Jamie as if I love her, then magically love would just fall out of the sky and fill up my chest or something. And right when he told me that, he says, Jamie said, you live and you learn. Absolutely. And we've grown to be way stronger together stronger than we were even back then. Just because being able to be open to have these type of conversations and knowing that our past was shaped for us. We ain't have no choice. You know what I mean?
I was in an abusive relationship, and,
wow.
and I could have got out of it even before my son came into play. But I held on as long as I did because I thought that I couldn't marry someone else. That if I got a divorce, other than for fornication or the person dying because of this silly book, that I will go to hell or I will be in adultery with my new spouse. You see what I'm saying? I've stayed in that marriage and I was subjected to all types of abuse because I was a good man. I wouldn't hit her back. She knew that, and so she just used me as a punching bag. So I mean that's not cool. And I know a lot of men deal with that. Okay, but that's something that's just not talked about in society. You hit a woman and that's it. But the woman feels like she can just beat on you and do whatever she wants to you. And because you're a man, you're supposed to be able to take it.
Mm-hmm. And right here you see confirmation from Jamie saying best friends. Now you're talking about somebody who met each other when they were super young in high school, right? Got married way extra young, stayed together because they were being manipulated to stay together, right? Made it last for several years now, several years. And I'm talking about after all that can still look back at each other and say, you had my back regardless of the lies I was being told. You see what I'm saying? The whole time we were in a relationship that really wasn't, we didn't really even understand marriage or anything. We still had each other's back. Even when we was both broke, struggling, trying to make it work because we didn't even understand how to even manage a household, we still had each other's back. And so when we look back at our lives, we look back at whenever there was nobody there, you was right there. You know what I mean? But again, we could have understood these things early in life. Had my pastor not told us. I mean, had he told us, he could have said, listen, what happened is y'all made a rash decision. Y'all can actually still maintain a healthy relationship for your children and yourselves if you're willing to work on that. Most relationships, when they don't go the way people thought they would, they end up distancing themselves and won't even be on talking terms. You know what I mean? But we didn't do that. And we actually had the mentality to do that then. We've never hated each other. We just weren't happy with the situation. I expected marriage to be something different, totally different. I expected marriage to be something full of love and all this stuff, and I just didn't feel that because I felt pressured to get married. Same with her. So again, guys, when you look at two people like that who can look back at their life and say, you know what, we're better for having each other in our lives, but we also understand that we were trying to shape something that probably shouldn't have been done the way it was at that time, and we're still friends. Y'all can do the same thing. And that's why I say, like, communication is key. No matter what you go through, you don't have to look back and be mad at every person in your life because of it. That's why when people say, Kevin, are you mad at God? No, I'm not. I understand that my life was due to the subject of men, not a God. Why would I be mad at God? See, that's crazy because I don't believe that the character exists. This is what I'm saying. You can see your life and see how your decisions were shaped and still not take any anger with you because you know that you were ignorant when this happened. This is why me and Jamie can look at each other and say we have no anger towards each other because we were both ignorant of what we were doing. And every time we learned, we grew. Jamie can tell you she's watched me be Christian. She's watched me, I'm talking about go from Christian to crying and saying I'll never celebrate Christmas again, eat pork again, in light of finding out that pork and stuff was wrong and becoming what would naturally be considered a Hebrew Israelite. She watched me go through that stage. She also watched me wake up from religion. I've been 3 different people, 3 different ideologies since she's known me, and I've always treated her with love and respect. So I tell you what's crazy. I never needed a God for that to begin with, but my pastor made me feel like I did. And he didn't even mean any harm. He actually genuinely loved me. He was a good person, but that was his paradigm and his own matrix. And this is what I'm saying. He contributed to the matrix by putting that crap onto me. Because if you go to a preacher and say, I'm not happy in my marriage, what is he supposed to say? He ain't going to say, get a divorce, because the Bible don't allow him to say that. The Bible is only going to allow him to encourage them to stay married. You understand? The Bible only says you can get a divorce if a person's cheating. You see what I'm saying? That's the only way. And even then, God still wants you to stay with a person who's cheating on you. He wants you to, but he gives you leeway to leave. What? Crazy stuff. Where we have to see a holy entity in the sky before we make a relationship decision. Even when somebody cheating on you. That's just crazy.
And you seem better when you stay. You see, when you work it out, like that's a admirable thing. When you try to work out a crazy situation that you, like you say, you shouldn't even be in. You know, that's sometimes, and then some of these churches and some of these religious leaders, they don't even examine the two people that are about to get married and say, you know what, y'all might, even though y'all got a child together or whatever, this might be a mistake. Just you don't know the person well enough. You don't know their background. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know their trauma. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things you have to understand about a person when you putting two people together and they're gonna coexist and live with one another. So a lot of these preachers, they just know you on the surface. They just know you from you coming to church and have, oh, you know, she's a good girl, but this person don't know anything about her history, her past, like what she's been through, and she could be subjecting that right onto her husband when they get into the house together. She could see him as somebody that abused her, you know, when she was 10 years old. You see what I'm saying? Like, all of these issues that she could have and bring into that marriage, they don't know because they don't get to know you. They don't get to know the real you.
Absolutely. And again, he said, yeah, it's called a marriage counselor. I mean, being facetious, man, it's not really giving any real answers, brother. Yeah. You know what I mean? Of course, we know what it's called because we know what two people going to the courthouse getting approved to have a relationship is called marriage. And then we also think a God would say that you should do that. It's ridiculous, man. No God would say you need to go to a courthouse and get a person who just went to school every day to get a certificate, and he has the authority to come to your job or go to his job where you go to get this certificate and approve you to get married under God. Now let's just look at the magistrates. Are they holy? What's their lifestyle like? Are they even saved? And you go to a magistrate to get him to sign off on God approving your marriage. Do you really think God would set it up that way? The only reason he's able to get you married is because the government gave him a license. And guess what? It has nothing to do with him knowing the literature in your Bible or ever being called holy or called upon by the God you believe in. He simply made a choice to go to school to become a magistrate, and that's just part of his duties, performing marriages, because it's a contract, not that it's something by God. It's a contract from the government. You understand what I'm saying? So when you say it's called marriage counseling, that doesn't imply that marriage comes from God. You're being ridiculous, family. So I'm gonna end the video so we don't keep going, guys, because we can do that. Ricky already gave his what's the name an hour ago. So let me give mine.
It's an hour ago.
Be the evolution, family. Be the change that you want to see, and no candle loses its flame from lighting another. And go to Kevin Wesley Group. Let's get involved with traveling, guys, if you're interested, okay? They extended it to the 25th for you guys that's coming in. So looking forward to seeing you guys, looking forward to hearing from you guys, and look forward to tomorrow. I will be announcing a future event. It's very soon. It's the weekend of the 25th through the 27th. So it's really, or probably even the 28th. So it's really, really soon. I just don't want to say it and not give you and leave you without the details, which I guess I did just do that. But I was going to be a little bit less vague, and that's probably worse because I was going to give you guys the city I was going to be in, but I'm not going to do that. But I'll give you guys all that information tomorrow. Just look forward to seeing it. I'll even make a YouTube video for you guys on YouTube so you guys can see it, and you guys will be able to come out if you're local to the area, and we're going to have a good family time, a good meet and greet before even the actual trips we're taking. So this is going to be something totally different, and I'll let you guys know tomorrow. Thank you guys. Actually, I'm honored, guys. I always appreciate you guys just as much as you guys appreciate me. And thank you to all of you who donated. My eyes was on both screens today. So if I didn't thank you for donating on YouTube, then I do thank you right now. And I'll say to all of you, actions speak louder than words. Okay, family? So with that being said, again, be evolution, be the change that you want to see, and no candle loses its flame from lighting another. Peace, family.